For over 6 generations, we have been serving our customers what matters to them most. Year after year, generation after generation, we've been able to present premium quality with best prices for our valuable customers. Welcome to IFCO. From our headquarters in Dubai, we oversee 80 world-class operations across 40 countries on 5 continents. Adding flavor to your life is what we pride on, and we do it best through our wide range of product segments. Whether it's efficient movement by sea, extensive transportation by road, or expertise in procurement, handling and storage, we stay on top of our game to get our quality products from farms to your table as swiftly and smoothly as possible. Meanwhile, IFCO's professional products and services segment was specifically created to craft specialized ingredients for specific channels. To ensure that you have the right product for your business, our quality
for pricing, international taxation, economic substance regulation, country-by-country reporting. Emirates Chartered Accountants Group started the journey in 2005 by a team of finance professionals. United Auditing is the audit division of Emirates Chartered Accountants Group, an ISO 9001-2015 certified company, with branches all across the UAE and Bahrain, UK and India. Auditing and assurance, taxation, transaction advisory, mergers and acquisition, accounting and bookkeeping, CFO services, corporate finance, company incorporation. Emirates Chartered Accountants Group, ready to serve you.
UHY James Chartered Accountants, led by Mr. James Matthew, is the exclusive member firm of UHY International in the UAE. Headquartered in the UK, spread across 101 countries, 330 business centers, with over 8,500 professionals, UHY International is the 18th largest accounting network globally, with audit, advisory, task, risk assurance, technology, and cybersecurity services. UHY James is proudly one of the 17 regulated auditors with DFSA and ADGM. 150 years of practice among 5 partners. UHY James Chartered Accountants is committed to your growth story.
So your business is growing, which is good, except it means you've got to change the way things work. See, when you were small, your people could talk to each other directly, exchange information, whatever. But these days, things are not so simple. Your company's bigger, there's more people, they're working remotely or in new locations, and you need to tie them all together. And to make matters worse, all these random spreadsheets and databases you use to run the business don't talk to each other at all. All of this keeps your business from getting to the next level. You need to expand to new product lines, new markets, new suppliers. But since you're drowning in details as it is, there's no way you could pull it off. But what if you could ditch the insanity and get visibility and complete control of your business back, both now and for the future? Well, that's exactly the idea behind Business One from SAP. It's a complete, integrated solution designed exactly for small businesses. It gives complete visibility and control over all facets of your organization at an affordable price. No more one-size-fits-all solutions. Business One is easy to customize to suit your specific needs without needing a huge IT department. So your people can stay connected just like the old days, and everyone gets the info they need, whether they're across the hall or across the globe. And as your needs change, so can the tools you use to manage them. Best of all, Business One gives you business value that you can see and measure. Your people become more productive, your processes are streamlined, your decisions become more strategic. Put simply, you're smarter, faster, more efficient, and more responsive. Which means less headaches for you and more money in the bank. Learn more today at sap.com/businessone.
Hand over your money. Manage your money with Baroda M-Connect Plus and make it grow. Bank of Baroda, India's international bank.
The exhilarating feeling of working smarter, collaborating better, being decisive, and hitting the mark. When the organization performs the way you envision it to perform. When the team achieves the goals they set out to accomplish. When everyone reaps the rewards of planning accurately for the future. We call it super planning.
The Finance World magazine, your gateway to the world of finance in a rapidly changing world. The preferred source of content by entrepreneurs, business leaders, and industry veterans. We keep our readers updated with the latest financial news through print publications, digital publications, our official website, bespoke events, and social media platforms. Get the latest, credible financial news from the MENA region and the world. Made readily available to you, we don't just inform you, but aspire to inspire you. Empowering over the finance, empowering business, empowering you. We are the Finance World.
The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history, and commerce. A land abundant in ingenuity. Right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner. And it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI representative office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you. The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history and commerce, a land abundant in ingenuity, right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner, and it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI representative office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you. The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history and commerce, a land abundant in ingenuity, right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner, and it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI representative office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you. The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history and commerce, a land abundant in ingenuity, right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner, and it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI representative office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you. The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history and commerce, a land abundant in ingenuity, right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner, and it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI Representative Office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you. The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history and commerce, a land abundant in ingenuity, right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner, and it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI Representative Office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you. The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history and commerce, a land abundant in ingenuity, right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner, and it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI Representative Office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you. The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history and commerce, a land abundant in ingenuity, right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner, and it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI Representative Office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you. The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history and commerce, a land abundant in ingenuity, right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner, and it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI Representative Office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you. The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history and commerce, a land abundant in ingenuity, right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner, and it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI Representative Office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you. The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history and commerce, a land abundant in ingenuity, right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner, and it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI Representative Office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you. The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history and commerce, a land abundant in ingenuity, right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner, and it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI Representative Office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you. The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history and commerce, a land abundant in ingenuity, right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner, and it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI Representative Office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you. The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history and commerce, a land abundant in ingenuity, right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner, and it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI Representative Office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you. The United Arab Emirates, a rich hub of culture, history and commerce, a land abundant in ingenuity, right from the luminescent heights of Dubai to the opulent vistas of Abu Dhabi. There is inspiration in every corner, and it's the place to be for NRIs who've integrated India's rich heritage into UAE's cultural tapestry. HSBC has been in the UAE for 75 years, empowering UAE's NRIs with a world of opportunity. Our UAE NRI Representative Office is your home away from home for your India banking needs, offering easy account setup right here in the UAE, to international remittance service at competitive exchange rates. HSBC Premier gives you and your family Premier status in India, the UAE and across the world with a dedicated Premier Relationship Manager. We are at your service right here in the UAE. The UAE and its NRIs have inspired our journey through all these years. Here's to many more. Here's to inspiration and opportunity. Here's to you.
electric and you're still getting through. I'm so happy that I'm alive. Happy I'm alive at the same time as you. Cause you've got a higher power. Got me singing every second, dancing every hour. Oh yeah, you've got a higher power.
For over 6 generations, we have been serving our customers what matters to them most. Year after year, generation after generation, we've been able to present premium quality with best prices for our valuable customers. Welcome to IFCO. From our headquarters in Dubai, we oversee 80 world-class operations across 40 countries on 5 continents. Adding flavour to your life is what we pride on, and we do it best through our wide range of product segments. Whether it's efficient movement by sea, extensive transportation by road, or expertise in procurement, handling and storage, we stay on top of our game to get our quality products from farms to your table as swiftly and smoothly as possible. Meanwhile, IFCO's professional products and services segment was specifically created to craft specialized ingredients for specific channels. To ensure that you have the right product for your business, our quality team ensures that each of our consignments is subjected to a thorough and rigorous quality control regime at every step of the process. Our state-of-the-art facilities help us to achieve this, because innovation and R&D lie at the heart of IFCO. And that's why for over 45 years we've anticipated needs and delivered above expectations to earn the confidence of our customers.
ये आजकल के बिजनेसमैन भी ना छोटे सपने तो देखते ही नहीं। अब अनमोल को ही ले लो, 4 साल से जानता हूँ उसे, टैक्स कंसल्टेंट हूँ उसका।
2 क्लॉजेस है ना सर, वो मुझे समझ में नहीं आया।
उसने गारमेंट शॉप खोल दी, केबल फैक्ट्री डाल दी, प्रॉपर्टीज भी जोड़ ली, पर मजाल है कि बिजनेस का पैशन थोड़ा भी कम हुआ।
10,000 मीटर। सॉरी, मैंने टाइम देखा ही नहीं सर।
न चैन से रहता है न रहने देता है, दिन रात सुबह शाम बस कॉल कॉल और कॉल। राकेश जी रिटर्न्स फाइल कब करोगे? यहाँ तक कि
गाड़ी कौन सी लूं सर
भी पूछता है।
सर गाड़ी ले ली सर।
लेकिन फिर जब आपसे नहीं पूछूंगा तो किससे पूछूंगा कहता है ना, तो पता चल ही जाता है कि कितना भरोसा करता है वो मुझ पर। इसलिए सोच रहा हूं कुछ दूं उसे, जो न सिर्फ उसके बड़े बड़े सपनों के काम आए, बल्कि मेरे काम को भी थोड़ा आसान बनाए।
पेश है टैली प्राइम, टेक्नोलॉजी में एक नया नाम। आजमा के देखिए आज ही। Our team of over 100 highly qualified and experienced professionals are committed to add value to your business. Upcoming corporate tax in the UAE, transfer pricing, international taxation, economic substance regulation, country-by-country reporting. Emirates Chartered Accountants Group started the journey in 2005 by a team of finance professionals. United Auditing is the audit division of Emirates Chartered Accountants Group, an ISO 9001-2015 certified company, with branches all across the UAE and Bahrain, UK and India. Auditing and assurance, taxation, transaction advisory, mergers and acquisition, accounting and bookkeeping, CFO Services, Corporate Finance, Company Incorporation, Emirates Chartered Accountants Group, ready to serve you.
UHY James Chartered Accountants, led by Mr. James Matthew, is the exclusive member firm of UHY International in the UAE. Headquartered in the UK, spread across 101 countries, 330 business centers, with over 8,500 professionals, UHY International is the 18th largest accounting network globally, with audit, advisory, task, risk assurance, technology, and cybersecurity services. UHY James is proudly one of the 17 regulated auditors with DFSA and ADGM. 150 years of practice among 5 partners. UHY James Chartered Accountants is committed to your growth story.
So your business is growing, which is good, except it means you've got to change the way things work. See, when you were small, your people could talk to each other directly, exchange information, whatever. But these days, things are not so simple. Your company's bigger, there's more people, they're working remotely or in new locations, and you need to tie them all together. And to make matters worse, all these random spreadsheets and databases you use to run the business don't talk to each other at all. All of this keeps your business from getting to the next level. You need to expand to new product lines, new markets, new suppliers. But since you're drowning in details as it is, there's no way you could pull it off. But what if you could ditch the insanity and get visibility and complete control of your business back, both now and for the future? Well, that's exactly the idea behind Business One from SAP. It's a complete, integrated solution designed exactly for small businesses. It gives complete visibility and control over all facets of your organization at an affordable price. No more one-size-fits-all solutions. Business One is easy to customize to suit your specific needs without needing a huge IT department. So your people can stay connected just like the old days, and everyone gets the info they need, whether they're across the hall or across the globe. And as your needs change, so can the tools you use to manage them. Best of all, Business One gives you business value that you can see and measure. Your people become more productive, your processes are streamlined, your decisions become more strategic. Put simply, you're smarter, faster, more efficient, and more responsive. Which means less headaches for you and more money in the bank. Learn more today at sap.com/businessone.
To succeed in life, you need to have control over yourself and over your money. Manage your money with Baroda M Connect Plus and make it grow. Bank of Baroda, India's international bank.
ऐसे मनी ऐसे ऐसे अभी रुक जाओ, फोटो खिंचा। वो YouTube लाइव चालू है? YouTube कब से किया? आज मैंने देखा 4 बजे, तुमने जल्दी शुरू कर दिया। Chalo, we'll try again. Good afternoon, everyone. Better. So, prominent French writers once said that no power on earth can stop an idea whose time has come. And this is an apt quote for the landmark budget of India for the year 2023-24 that provided new economic policies and eased the foreign investments regime, changing forever the face of Indian economy and the way the world viewed India. Do you know that it is mandatory for each government to present the budget? Why is it so? Any guess? Yes, and government responsibilities are decided or defined in the Constitution. So Article 112 of Constitution of India defines that it is necessary for each government to present a financial statement at the Parliament before the beginning of every financial year. The Union budget is allotted for the upcoming fiscal year, which starts from 1st of April till 31st of March 2024. This budget contains details about the projected receivables and payables of the government. And this budget, as we all know, primarily divided into two parts. One is CapEx and OpEx in financial terms. For government, it is capital budget and revenue budget. The union budget is indeed crucial as it has a widespread impact on numerous areas. Hence, it is imperative to have knowledge about what it stands for and its importance. We need to keep ourselves updated with the recent amendments and developments in the Union Budget of India as it may impact us directly or indirectly. You know, this year budget was presented by Finance Minister as Vision for Amrit Kal, and with 7 priorities, which they named as Saptarishi, as with focus on inclusive development, reaching the last mile, youth power, infrastructure, and investment, unleashing the potential green growth and financial sectors. Today we have with us our learned orators and who will share their knowledge, views, insight, and impact of the budget. Speakers and panelists will enlighten us with the key features of the budget and will take us through with its implication on investment and on us NRIs. Before I go further into the substance, I would like to warmly welcome our Central Council members who came from India, CA CGS Nandaji, CA Raj Chawla ji, and CA Piyush Chhajir ji. A big round of applause for all the Central Council members. I would like to welcome our Senior Chartered Accountant, C.A. Dinesh Kothari ji, our Speaker, Mr. Hitesh Gajaria, Mr. Rajesh Kothari, Mr. Siddharth Balachandran, Mr. Paras Sadatpuri, our Chapter Chairman, C. Anurag Chaturvedi, past Chairman of the Chapter, fellow members, friends, and seniors in the profession, sponsors, and my colleagues in the Managing Committee, and distinguished guests. A very warm good afternoon to all of you. Warmness. Good afternoon. Very good. Thank you. I, Manoj Agrawal, Secretary of the Chapter, welcome each one of you to today's session on Union Indian Budget Impact Analysis 23-24. I express my sincere gratitude to today's speaker for accepting our invitation. I also thank each one of you for your active participation. A big round of applause for the speakers and all of us. While our speakers will take us through with many rousing topics, it is now time to pay respects to our nation and profession. May I now request everyone to please rise for the UAE and Indian national anthems and the ICI motto.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तदेव शुक्रदब्रह्मा तदब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
Seat. It's always essential to recognize the ones who always supports us. Let us recognize our sponsors. Thanks to our event partner HSBC, Principal sponsors, Pan Emirates Home Furnishing, AGMC, Lulu, and IFCO, Tele. Platinum sponsors, Emirates Chartered Accountant Group, WMS, CloudSoup, Vested Finance, Nalsoft, UHY James, and Jedox. FMCG partner, Aktia. Media partner, Khalij Times. Institutional partner, Delhi Private School. Banking partner, Bank of Baroda. And magazine partner, Finance World. Let us appreciate our sponsors with a big round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sure that today we will gain a unique experience on investment and impact of Indian budget. As mentioned by Kautilya, in the interest of the prosperity of the country, government shall be diligent in foreseeing the possibility of calamities, try to avert them before they arise, overcome those which happen, remove all obstruction to economic activity, and prevent loss of revenue to the state. Some of the key objectives of union budgets are efficient allocation of resources, reduce unemployment and poverty level, reduce wealth and income disparities, keep a check on prices and changes in the tax structures. And today, we have with us our three learned Central Council members. So I would like to invite CJS Nanda Sahab to the stage to share his views on impact of Indian budget. And before we proceed with that, we have a very good news. We have with us someone who is recently honored and awarded with Pravasi Bharatiya Samman. He is none other than Mr. Siddharth Balachandran, Chairman of India Club. So we would like to recognize and honor his achievement on behalf of all Indians in UAE. Mr. Siddharth Balachandran, we would like to honor. So if you can join us at the stage. And our chairman, Sri Anurag Chaturvedi ji, and our senior Central Council member, CJS Nanda Sahab, to the stage, please, with Sri Dinesh Kothari ji. I request Nanda Sahab to share the key aspects of Indian budget with all of us.
A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Chairman of the chapter, Mr. Anurag, Mr. Manoj, the Secretary, my very esteemed colleagues in the Council, Mr. Raj Chawla, Mr. Piyush Goyal, Mr. Piyush Chhajad, Mr. James Matthew, my very old friend, and all who have come here to go home more enlightened. Ladies and gentlemen, budget always assumes great prepositions. The reason being, budget creates lot of happening in the market. The stock, I am asked to speak on the impact of budget on the stock market. On the markets. Before I come on to the impact on the markets, I will just like to tell you something about our institute. All of you know that the institute, the Great Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, was set up an Act of Parliament way back on 1st July 1949. When the most important document to the democracy, the Constitution, was not adopted. The Constitution to this great country was promulgated on 26th January 1950. The pertinent question that arises is, what prompted the Constituent Assembly to set up an Institute of Chartered Accountants of India when its own democratic setup was not in place? The answer is very candid, very simple, very forthcoming. They were looking for a disciplined band of soldiers to steer this country out of confusion, and there we are. It would not be wrong to classify ourselves as financial soldiers of this great country. And the growth we had, the Indian chartered accountancy has grown to such enormous levels today. World Congress, the first in the world to have so many numbers, more than 11,000 people. Greatest of topics, best of hospitality, worldwide people are acknowledging the role of the Indian chartered accountants. And I remember a couplet which says, "Dete na the jo jawab, उनके सलाम आने लगे। देते ना थे जो जवाब, उनके सलाम आने लगे। वक्त बदला तो मेरे नीम के पेड़ पर आम आने लगे। इस खेती का भरपूर मजा उठाइए। आगे चलते हुए बजट के बारे में, I told budget has so many propositions, and the biggest proposition is its glamorous proposition. Stock market. The budget was, before the stock market, entangled with the Adani fiasco. Hamburger report bringing down all the gains which Adani stocks had, correcting them to 50%. Data way back when it came, it said that in 2 days, the Hamburger report ensured that Adani lost 4 lakh crore rupees. And the report was 32,000 words. So it said the most expensive words in the word, 12.5 crore for every word was the loss, which has been escalated even after that. But believe you me, budgets may say something, the markets may say something, but India is on the total path of growth. Internationally, we are on a growth trajectory, and I want to tell you two very important things about the budget. If you have deep notes into the budget and how money is coming into the Indian economy and particularly the stock markets, you will be happy to know that Nirmala Sitharaman brought back the lost glory of P-notes. Now foreign portfolio investors can issue P-notes, and on the P-notes issued by them, there shall be no short-term or long-term capital gains. 1,000 times better than the tax treaties. So money would usher in, money would pour in. Second very important thing about the budget, there is so much reduction in the tax slab. Each and every penny that is saved will ultimately be channelized into the markets. So ladies and gentlemen, if you feel you have not invested in the Indian markets, the dream run is about to start. These are the testing times. You see today also the market went down. Day before yesterday the market improved, and yesterday the market opened, NSE opened at 130 points, went up to 350 points. Again plummeted down to 350 points and closed flat. But the stocks had a great beating. People lost a lot. But when it comes to losses, always remember one idiom which says, difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations. If you invest now, you'll have a greater impetus. I do not represent any group that I'm asking you to invest. I do my own investments, and I have full faith. And particularly the data also suggests that the Indian market is poised for a big move. With P-notes and money coming in, nobody can stop the markets. So I suggest that certain areas, the best way to invest in market is to identify an area. Identify the sum of money which you want to invest, and try to invest on a monthly basis. For example, if you want to invest on 6th, and the more you get deterred not to invest due to the current situation, is the best time. In difficult times, people who buy SIPs or buy stocks in the market, they tend to gain the moment market starts going up. I'm giving no clues about a particular stock, but there are certain sectors which call upon us for investment. You can go ahead and invest in those sectors. Taking a back step, other than stock markets, shares, I will like to tell you, the real estate in India has also started going up. The prices of gold is also going up. So largely, it is an investable climate where people have surplus funds, particularly the salaried employees, and that entire money is coming back to the markets either through SIPs or mutual funds. There is a small problem with ATC deduction. So people have a feeling that ATC deduction, when it is abolished, maybe people will not invest. This is a wrong notion. People will keep on investing, not taking much of your time. I would end with a small note. This is on the profession. I was speaking at IIM Raipur. A gentleman asked me, he said, why are chartered accountants criticized? 2 points. Number one, you are only criticized when you are on growth. People will never criticize a man on the road. And second very important thing, our profession is such a noble profession that everybody expects a lot from us. I happen to be the chairman of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. Your institute was the first to come out with 23 forensic accounting investigating standards in the world, first in the world. Your institute was the first to come out with guidance note on remote audit way back on 20th March 2020. The institute is well poised, And therefore criticism stems because people want each and everything from us. Even if I do an audit and there is a fraud which is declared at the last stage, they feel that every audit which has been done has to be fraud-free, which is not possible. It is the perspective with which the work is undertaken. So to end with again a couplet which says, तारीफ की चाहत तो नाकाम लोगों की फितरत है, तारीफ की चाहत तो नाकाम लोगों की फितरत है, काबिल लोगों के तो दुश्मन भी कायल होते हैं. We are a class apart. I want to thank the Dubai chapter for giving me an opportunity to interact with you. I'm always there. My name is Charanjot Singh Nanda. I'm the chairman, Intra-Audit Standard Board, chairman, Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. You can always have my number at ici.org. Always at your beck and call. Thanks. Thanks, Dubai chapter.
Thank you, Nanda sir. We'll look forward for the P notes as investment. So, largely, now I would like to invite our CA Raj Chawla ji to the stage to say a few words on the budget. Let us welcome CA Raj Chawla with a big round of applause.
Thank you, Manoj. Good afternoon to all. First of all, I am thankful to Dubai chapter for giving this opportunity, and especially to chairman of our Dubai chapter, respected managing committee members of Dubai chapter, past chairman, respected speakers, other dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, Part B of the budget on direct taxation was a very balanced. If I divide that in 3 parts, it has given benefit to all the assessees. The minimum income which was exempt from tax was 2.5 lakh, which is increased to 3 lakh now. The tax deduction under section 87A was earlier up to 5 lakh. Suppose your income is up to 5 lakh, then you was eligible to get a deduction under section 87A of rupees 12,500, the amount of taxation. Means thereby up to 5 lakh the income was not chargeable to tax. Now that limit has been increased from 5 lakh to 7 lakh. So this is the benefit to our middle class. And earlier in this new regime, in India we have 2 regimes of taxation. 2 years back, the new regime was declared. But now this new regime has been taken as a default regime, and earlier the standard deduction allowed to employees was not there, although it was allowed in the old regime. Now 52,500 amount as a standard deduction is allowed in this new regime also. One more benefit given to the middle class is that one slab of 25% is abolished. Now the taxation is up to 3 lakh, 0 tax, 3 to 6 lakh, 5%, 6 to 9 lakh, 10%, 9 to 12 lakh, 20%, and then after 15 lakh, 30%. So the slab of 25% have been abolished. And the last, the benefit given to the higher income slab, the surcharge of 37%, which was applicable if your income exceed 5 crore, has been reduced from 37% to 25%. So this was a very balanced and very good budget of our Indian government. So with this, I am thankful to Dubai chapter for giving this opportunity to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chawla ji. Now, we used to give gifts, we used to receive gifts as being NRI or resident to our relatives and non-relatives. There are certain key changes. So to simplify those changes, we have another Central Council member, CA Piyush Shajir ji with us. So may I request him to please elaborate little bit on the gifts from to NRI NROs. Let us welcome CA Piyush Shajir.
Thank you very much, Manoj, Chairman Anurag, other committee members, my Central Council members, Nanda ji, Chawla ji, ST members of the Dubai chapter. Yes, not only gifts, of course, considering this particular budget, the government has been very receptive. Everybody knows that India is also facing an inflation. And therefore, they've tried to see that every individual is left with little more pocket to meet the increasing expenditure. But of course, the two important aspects, obviously the technical speakers would be covering it more specifically. But what I thought is, one is gifts given to the non-residents were taxable. And the definition has now been increased, and it has also been extended to not ordinarily resident. But the more important change which I was wondering from a non-resident perspective was an investment made by non-resident in India. There's a provisions of 56 subclause 2, subclause 7B, which is a deeming income, which taxes any income received by an Indian company. As in, supposing, let's take an example, an equity investment is coming from a resident in a private, which is a closely held company. And if the amount is above the fair value as determined under the provisions, which were DCF or the breakup value, there was a taxability in the hands of the recipient company. But it was restricted to an investments made by the residents only. So this budget has proposed basically that any investment made by non-residents also in a closely held companies, and if those investments is made at a price which is higher than the value as determined under the provisions, would be taxable in the hands of the company, investing company. So I see that's the biggest challenge, because you all may know whatever investments are happening in India from the non-residents, they are also governed by the provisions of Foreign Exchange Management Act, which says that the investment should be made at a price above discounted cash flow, or now it has been changed to price which is accepted globally. And there is an income tax act which says now, which is applicable to non-resident, which says that it should not be at a price which is above, it should not be received above a particular price, and FEMA says reverse way. So there were a lot of judicial fight going on into it, and it said that it was in the favor that these are not applicable to non-residents. And after those judgments have come, I believe that to overcome that, this provision has come. I'm sure we have a expert speaker on that, and they will be covering this into detail. But according to me, I would see that as a way, because a lot of funds, a lot of AIFs, VCFs were incorporated abroad to channelize investments from an individuals and the corporates, and those channelized investments were invested into startup companies in India. And a lot of litigations were going on that. So with that brief note on this, I would like to end. I would thank you, the chapter, to giving me this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here in the Dubai chapter. I've been a very recently elected Central Council member. I just entered the council through a by-elections, and it was a real pleasure. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Piyush. So it is now time to hear from someone who always led us from the front. He has his own elegance of analyzing the things and share his views. And let us welcome Chapter Chairman C. Anurag Chaturvedi for a chairman address at the stage with a big round of applause. Chairman के लिए थोड़ा जोर से बनती हैं. Thank you.
Good evening, friends. We are doing event after at least, I think, a month or so. So I think we have a lot of reserved energy. Good evening. Perfect. And it's Indian budget. After all, we're talking about so much investment, tax savings, and whatnot. Like what's the way India is progressing forward. So before I start, I would like to honor and thank Mr. Bipul Kothari ji, Anirab Bhai, for providing us opportunity to meet the speakers. And thank you so much, Dinesh Kothari ji, Paras ji. Thank you so much for sparing your time to be here and share your perspective, because I believe you look the budget from a different perspective, from an industrial perspective, from different angle. And obviously, Siddharth ji, thank you so much for making out here, and many, many congratulations. So thank you, Naveen ji, for honoring and bringing out Siddharth ji to here. So friends, when I look into the budget, last night, when I look into that, I think India has produced something exceptional, budget that satisfies each and every one. Whenever the budget comes out there, there are so many people out there who just talks positives about it. There's so many people talks negative about it. Many, many critics that this is not done, this is not catered. But can you guess, this time when the budget came in, or in the last time the budget came in, there were not many, many critics out there. And guess what? Is the budget the best budget ever we have seen? Maybe probably not. But the thing is that we all have grown so far. I think the expectation of every citizen of India has grown so fast forward beyond their self-belief and beyond their own nest that today we talk about nation first rather than being an individual. So I believe this budget has satisfied every single thing. And for me, if I need to talk about the budget a little bit more intense, I must say that this budget is of 3 C's. And what those 3 C's are? Capex, consumption, and capital. So these 3 C's that our Honorable Finance Minister of India, Nirmala Sitharaman ji, has talked about it, and they brought those things to the perspective. And I believe this is where India is heading. And India is definitely truly a growing story with over 7% of GDP, which Nanda ji has spoken in his extempore speech out there. So India is growing a story in every part of the world. Today, people talks about India. Wherever we are going there, everybody is bullish on India because the kind of opportunities that's happening around, the kind of government infrastructures, the kind of capital market that is coming up, and kind of people-centric and investment-centric and investor-friendly economy that is surging up, the multifold. And if we talk about even the deficit, which stands at 5.9%, and which is further lowering down year-on-year basis, I believe that we are in the right shape today. We are in the right shape, friends. And when a country talks about senior citizen, when the country talks about the women empowerment, when the country talks about sustainability, when the country talks about connecting the dots within the country in order to prosper the economy, easing out the commutation, transportation, enhancing the avenues for education, enhancing the avenues for businesses by providing them different sort of credit, I believe this is what the budget that we are looking at. The more insight on the budget, I think I'll leave it for the speakers to share about it because I'm not an expert and they are analyzing the budget. So I would leave it them to explain more about it. But friends, I must say one thing to all of you that in last 10.5 months approximately, because we're meeting, 10.5 months, friends, the journey have been extraordinarily incredible with all your support. I'm sure that you all have enjoyed the time out there. And one thing that I say that with this budget or with all these events, the message that we wanted to pass to each one of you, friends, that as a torchbearer within the profession, each chartered accountants embrace the knowledge that they gain through regular events that they continue to attend. I'm sure that in time ahead, you will gonna prosper with this. As the corporate tax in the UAE is also there, the days are not very far, maybe the decade or maybe more than a decade, when the other sort of taxes will also hit, because VAT is there, excise is there, corporate tax is there. Other taxes are also there. So I'm sure that through these events, we continue to imbibe that knowledge so that whenever we go out to the client, we're gonna reflect that kind of knowledge that we all possess, right? So without a further ado, I would like to ask the secretary of the chapter to take the proceeding forward. Thank you so much, friends. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chairman Sahab. So let us have a big round of applause for our chairman. Clapping is the best exercise. So keep doing it after a few intervals. So, like Chairman Sahab said that thankful to Vipul Kothari ji, Neerab bhai, Saadat Puri Sahab, Kothari Sahab. So I would like to extend the thanks to Jito and our member Shreyansh Shah to connect and coordinate with the speakers. So thank you very much to Jito and Shreyansh bhai. So largely, we non-residents, Indians, are investing money in India or abroad and always worried about the impact of budget in terms of currency rate and further growth. And to make it simplify, today we have with us Mr. Rajesh Kothari, founder and managing director of Alf Accurate Advisors. And to introduce Mr. Kothari, I would like to invite our treasurer, C. Jaiprakash Agrawal, to the stage. Clapping is the best exercise.
Good afternoon. I can understand why clappings are not coming because you are coming from your offices, you are tired, it's afternoon time, but it is a good habit. I also like the fact that still 10.5 months, 1.5 more month to go, but our chairman got emotional and I thought he was giving us a parting speech. I love that part, he's getting emotional 1.5 months before that. Now, coming back to the topic, Mr. Rajesh Kothari is among us, and I love every time when I am given a speaker who is talking on investments. And I love that because he will give you an opportunity to double your money, not with your salaries, but also with your investments. Why? Because when I saw the profile, I could not cut out anything from the profile. It was Shreyansh who helped me to cut out something, but still it's a long profile. Let me go through it, but you should hear it because you will understand why we all have to hear him for investment strategies. Mr. Kothari is the visionary founder and managing director of Alf Accurate Advisors and driving force behind making AAA one of the India's most respected award-winning investment management firm. With 25 plus years of rich experience in Indian capital market, he has done a consistent superior risk-adjusted returns and given to the society over past 13 years. He brings to the table keen analysis, sharp insights, and result-oriented approach to drive high returns. Millions of investors across the country tune into frequent TV appearances as a distinguished market expert on CNBC TV 18, Times Now, and Bloomberg. He has also been a keynote speaker at several international conferences and summits, including Maharashtra Economic Summit, Institute of Directors, Trade Tech Asia Conference, and the World Council for Corporate Governance. This is not all. Prior to becoming a founding member, Rajesh was a fund manager at DSP Merrill Lynch Fund Manager. During his tenure, the AUM flourished from USD 100 million to a staggering USD 1.5 billion. All through this period of 5 years, he has ranked first quartile ranking by CRISIL, a Standard & Poor affiliate. Further, he has also been awarded with CNBC TV 18 CRISIL Mutual Fund of the Year Award in 2006. He has also won CRISIL Mutual Fund of the Year Award in 2006 for DSP Merrill Lynch Equity Fund. The fund house also received the Lipper India Fund Award for the Best Equity Fund Group for 3 years. Prior to this, he was also the director of Voyager Investment Advisors, a US-based India dedicated fund. A true champion for the underverse, Rajesh is involved with Arham Yuva Seva Group, an organization committed to solving some of the most pressing issues faced by today's youth. With a big round of applause, can we have Mr. Rajesh Kothari here, and we have to clap for our speaker because he will tell us how to invest, what is the investment strategies.
Good evening, friends. I think the last benchers are probably still in high tea, probably. Good evening, friends. The last row. Thank you. First of all, let me take this opportunity to thank Institute of Chartered Accountants, Dubai Institute, for inviting us here. Let me also thank Shreyansh for all the coordination and hard work what you have done and giving us an opportunity here. I remember, I think, about 4.5 years back, if I'm not wrong, 2018 or 19, I think 2019, I was here and we had a very interactive session that time. And I thought it is always better to keep it more interactive because, I can see many of you are probably still on WhatsApp, and it's a very different time right now, correct? Because wherever we go, we basically do WhatsApp with our friends. Our friends are actually, we are doing friends meeting, but we do WhatsApp with other friends. So I thought let's keep it more interactive. Budget has been already covered by dignitaries, most knowledgeable people, chartered accountants. So the good part of budget is it is a non-event. We don't want eventful budget. We want continuity of the policies. And this budget is no different from last 3 years. I think every year, the importance, the impact of budget as a one-day exercise is reducing every day. Which is very good for corporates so that you know there is going to be continuity. Direction is same. Probably budget further accelerates a little bit more on the efficiency side. Probably removing some loopholes, if I may use the word. Trying to further make compliance much more stricter, administratively much more smoother. And I think that's what is required for the country of this size. One of my friends has already talked about 3 C's. And let me give 2 lines each on each of that C. The first and foremost is CapEx. India is a capital-starved economy. And in the last 10 years, I think from 2009, not even 10 years, I think 13 years, India has not seen capital expenditure. And unless you do CapEx, it is extremely difficult to grow 8 to 9% in real GDP growth terms. Right now we are growing at 5.5 to 6%. But if we want India to grow at 8 to 9%, which everybody used to think about a few years back, but it has not yet happened, because of the one most important roadblock, and that's CapEx. But since last 3 years, government has taken the lead. Government understood that India is going through pandemic, the capacity utilizations are very low, and therefore private sector is going to take back seat. Rightly, government took the front seat and did heavy lifting on CapEx side. Even this year, considering that global world economy is into slowdown lane, government again did the heavy lifting on its part, so that finally, probably after 3 to 4 quarters, animal spirit is likely to come back. And then from then, private sector will take over government in terms of driving the CapEx. This year, if you include, one is of course headline number, 34% increase in CapEx, but don't go by headline number. If you go through the fine print, including the CPSE, that is PSU companies, including IEBR, that is external financing, you need to include everything to make a like-to-like comparison, then the CapEx growth is 22%. Very, very robust growth. 22% is a very, very robust growth. And this is a 3rd year of very strong capital expenditure. And that is, of course, across industries, be it roads, be it railways, be it smart cities, across various ministries. Second very important is the consumption. Last 12 months, we have seen slowdown in consumption, particularly on the rural India side. And therefore, this time government has decided to increase the disposable income in the hands of individuals by reducing the income taxes. That results into roughly about 35,000 crores of what I would say revenue which government forgone. Typically about 7 to 8 times multiplier impact. So roughly about 2 lakh crores addition to GDP. So consumption will revive. Small revival will happen because of the incentive given by the government. And third C, most important C, is no change in capital gain tax for equity. That's one of the most important relief, because everybody talked about there is going to be alignment between debt and equity. And I don't know, somehow everybody thought that it is actually negative, but I don't know why people think it is negative. Because in debt market, you have an indexation benefit. So I don't think it is easy for government to make a choice. Can they make equity equal to debt in the long term? Because if you do that, while of course instead of 1 year it becomes 3 years, but then on debt market you have an indexation benefit. So if you give that indexation benefit, it actually becomes 0% income tax for the long term. Of course, provided it's a 3-year holding period. Nevertheless, the debate ends here. There is no change in capital gain tax, which is again a relief for equity as an asset class. On the contrary, on the MLD side, I don't know how many of you know about MLD as a product, but on the MLD side, that was about very low tax rate. It has become almost full tax rate. So MLDs are gone for many wealth managers who were selling MLDs, particularly in last 12 to 18 months. That structure is going to be probably significantly impacted post this budget. Last but not least, it is a pro-growth budget with fiscal prudence, 5.9% fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP, which is good compared to where are we today. and with a target of 4.5% by FY26, which is also reasonably good. Another good thing about this budget, not only this, I would say even last budget, is the conservatism of government. All the numbers are reliable numbers. The entire mathematics one can rely upon. Divestment is equivalent to FY23. It means there is no significant, government is not assuming 1,50,000 crore divestment. That's a good number. Revenue growth at 10%, again is a good number, because nominal GDP growth is going to be about 11%. So 10% revenue growth is surely a good number. So, mota moti, broadly, everything is in line, and that's good news for equity markets, and of course good news for corporate India, because it is going to further revive the capex, further revive the consumption, and of course with better and stricter compliance, big is going to become bigger. With that, let me quickly take you through market outlook, and I will try to probably cover it up in about 15 minutes, and then probably 15 minutes we can probably make it interactive if that's possible, or we can make it at the end, whatever way, at the panel level. Perfect, no problem. So, let me quickly take you through few important things, that where are we stand in terms of economy, and how do we see Indian equity market over next 3 to 5 years. First, most important thing. Dubai is I would say, financial capital of the world. And when you are in Dubai, you have to talk international. Because in Dubai, everybody knows everything. US market, China market, Japan market, India market. And normally when we interact with international investors, the fear in minds of investors is, are we back to 2008? Can 2008 repeat? And we don't think so. Why we don't think so? Let me take you 3 important data points. If we look at the corporate debt to GDP in 2008, it was roughly 65%. If we look at in 2022, we are at 51%. If we look at the exports of India, it was $167 billion. Today we are more than $500 billion. If we talk about CPI inflation, it was almost 8%. Currently, we are at 5.8%. And in fact, inflation is running below RBI's target. It means interest rates actually is going to probably likely to reduce maybe after a quarter or so. Most important thing is the left-hand side chart. If you look at the non-food credit growth, the gray bar is 2005 to 2008, and the blue bar is 2019 to 2022. Last 3 years, the excesses are not there this time. Why the collapse happened in Indian equity market? Because there were 4 years of excesses. What I mean by excesses? You had a 29% compounded year after year non-food credit growth running for 4 years. This time, we are in line with GDP. Our non-food credit growth is just at around 10% for last 3 years. If you further look at housing loan, if you look at personal loan, you look at any indicator, there are no excesses built this time. Because for market to collapse, any market, whether it's world or India, first it has to go into that bubble zone. And when I talk about bubble, I'm not talking about valuations, I'm talking about the underlying economic fundamentals. During 2003 to 2008, particularly 2005 onwards, Indian economy witnessed 28% growth year after year in non-food credit growth. That includes corporate credit growth, industrial credit growth, so on and so forth. This time, we are below 10%. Second important slide, just continuing where I left on first slide. If you look at the last 30 years average, it's 16.5%. And if you look at that 2003 to 2008 average is 26%. And during COVID time, of course, it became almost like 2%, 3%, but then after that, it started moving up. The good sign is that from last 4 months, the non-food credit growth has finally became 12 to 14%. Because if it is too low, then there is no growth. an economy which is growing 11 to 12% in nominal terms, you require minimum 12 to 14% non-food credit growth. That has started since last 3 to 4 months. So we are seeing the early signs of Indian economy recovery. How to play Indian economy? I'm sure everybody knows that Indian economy is going through significant reforms. It started with demonetization, then came GST, then came RERA Act, then came IL&FS credit crisis related stricter compliance, and then so many new reforms came. One thing is becoming important in India, the formalization of the economy. So, unfortunately, I have a sympathy for agriculture side, for SME side, or for small players. But if I need to create wealth, it is a rule of jungle. And in rule of jungle, big becomes bigger. And if you want to create wealth, you need to bet on big. Across sectors, we are seeing that trends that big is becoming bigger in every sector. Look at, for example, the bank credit. Top 6 players, incremental 67% market share. 67% market share, top 6 players. If we talk about the steel industry, top 6 players, 95%. That's huge. And look at where we were in FY10. 10 years back, that was 57%. And right now in FY21, it is 68%. And if you look at the incremental basis, we are already 95%. If you look at the cement industry, 100% of incremental sales volume is from top 5 players. On incremental basis, 100%. So you can imagine that 41 has become 60, and by FY26, I won't be surprised if this becomes 85. And of course, automobile, Maruti or Hyundai, or Kia, or including that. And this only volume share. If I put the profit share slide, you will not believe me, those kind of numbers. For example, Maruti commands almost 81% of entire car industry profit pool. Very important. So while the volume wise, out of every 2 cars sold in India, 1 is by Maruti Suzuki, but out of 100 rupees of car industry profit, Maruti commands more than 80% profit share. So if you want to play India, that's what we do. Big becomes bigger. You need to focus on the companies which are positioned to gain the market share. So while you might have questioned, will India grow at 10%, 11%, 12%? Nobody knows the final answer. Only after the end of the year we'll come to know. But there are companies which are going to gain market share, whether India grow at 10% or 12%. Unbranded to branded, small to mid, and mid to large, and unorganized to organized. That's the story what India is right now playing, and it is happening across the sector. Let me give one example here. I'm sure all of you would have heard of Tata Group company called Trent. Am I right? Trent is known by Westside. Westside, biggest format. Westside being a retail store, if you want to identify how big the company is, you check how many million square feet company is managing. Correct? The Westside's format is about 1.75 million square feet. But how many of you are aware that 4 years back, Trent launched another format called Zudio? And today Zudio is 1.75 million square feet. In 4 years, despite 2 pandemic years, Trent created another trend in the company. So one can argue that Indian economy will grow at only 10%. क्या होएगा इसमें क्या बनना है 10-12% रिटर्न बनेगा बट ऐसा नहीं है why because if you identify the companies which has a potential to grow 18 to 20 to 30%, then the scope to create wealth expands significantly. And I'm giving an example of Trent, which is not a small company by any chance, correct? And despite it is not a small company, it's the biggest company in organized retail. The company doubled its store size, total million square feet, in a matter of 4 years. How many of you know a company called SRF? I'm sure everybody would be aware. SRF, am I right? There are only 3 companies in India in fluorine chemistry, SRF, Navin, and Gujarat Fluoro. But let me tell you, in 2018, the specialty chemical revenue was only 1800 crores for SRF. And come FY22, in a matter of 4 years, that revenue became 4 times. 4 times. We talk about India growing at 10%. That nothing to do with SRF. SRF has decided to grow at 25%, 30%, 40%, 60%, year after year. And that's the growth opportunity what I'm talking about. And that's where I'm saying the biggest becoming bigger. You need to play the big, of course, with right balance sheet, right capital allocation, right management, right governance. That goes without saying. So this is the first theme, what we are playing in India, big becoming bigger. Second, China plus one. And whenever I talk China plus one, I get a counter question, at least 3 quarters back. Rajesh, is it really happening or is it just a talk? The good news is, it is really happening. It has already happened in last 9 months, and it is further accelerating as I speak with you. So if you look at, for example, agrochemical, and if you look at the market share of China versus India, if you look at the pharma, you look at the API, you look at dyes and pigments, and even if you assume whatever conservatism you want to believe in, you want to believe 5% shift? Do you want to believe 10% shift? Do you want to believe 20% shift? We have 3 lines. 5% shift means 53% growth. 3% shift means 32% growth. And even if you assume 1% shift, it means 10% growth. So 1 is the basic growth, which is already happening, and this becomes a bonus. So even if there is a 5% shift from China to India, for Indian companies, that's huge. We are not going to replace China. It is China plus one. When I speak with the companies, for example, Navin Fluorine, the second largest fluorine company in India, I'm sure you know the company called Honeywell Automation. It is a global company, it's a US company. They gave their patent rights in Asia only to one company, and that name of the company is Navin Fluorine. Navin Fluorine has a specialty chemical revenue of less than 300 crores. And they got order of more than 1200 crores spread over 3 years. The plant has started last quarter for Honeywell Automation. Now think of it. There are other 10 customers. They are also watching this space. They are watching whether Navin Fluorine is successful or not. And if the Navin Fluorine is successful for Honeywell, there are other companies ready in queue to give new orders, not only to Navin Fluorine, but companies like Navin Fluorine. And that's truly happening across various sectors. Another very important thing which I'm not plotted slide on it is Europe plus one. I don't know if I have a slide on it. No, we don't. Yeah, Europe plus one. We have a slide on that. And this is another thing which is happening from last 2 quarters. And there are 3 segments which are readily positioned to benefit out of it. Say for example, one is the multinationals who already have presence in India. For them it is very easy to do, am I right? Because they have a global presence, they already have an India presence. And since you have a presence in India, for you, it is either new brownfield or taking up one more land parcel next to your existing plant and make sure that Indian subsidiary ramps up the production, because in Europe the cost has become unviable. And for example, in our portfolio, and I'm putting a disclaimer, these are not the recommendations. These are just basically wanted to give some flavor what we do and more importantly how we go about it. Like for example, Timken. Timken has announced another capex of 600 crores just 3 months back to cater to their parent company. If you talk about a company called Cummins, globally they have decided only 3 plants, North America, China and India. And it is not out of love for India. Because the Indian economy has become so big that first of all, you need to cater to the domestic market so you become the cost competitive. And then on top of it, you do export. So wherever India is competitive, India will export to the world. If China is competitive, China will export to the world. And if North America is competitive, North America will export to the world. If you talk about a company called Schneider, this company has announced capex for its parent company, 2.5 times increase in capacity at its West Bengal plant. If you talk about a company called Schaeffler, is a bearing company, the globally #1 company in bearing industry, it has announced 1,200 crores capex to shift the lines from Germany to India. And I can give so many other examples. Similarly, there are companies in India which are benefiting because of the large global presence. As I talked about specialty chemical, they already have global presence. They already are cost competitive. They are already reliable supplier to the global companies. For example, PI industry, from last 7 years, they are supplying to Sumitomo's of the world, and many such companies of the world based in Japan. They are number one into agrochemicals, and these companies are seeing more and more traction since last 2 years. And of course, there are third set of companies. And these companies are domestic companies. They were small companies 10 years back. But because they have grown so fast in last 10 years, the economies of scale has become natural advantage. And at the same time, the export opportunity is a new opportunity which has opened up. For example, there is a company called Craftsman Automation. We bought this company about 1.5 years back. Stock price already probably became 3 times from our purchase price. This company is into machining side, is the only company into machining. And this company supplies to New Holland and John Deere of the world, who have put up their plants in India for low HP tractors. India is the biggest market for low HP tractors. So in tractor, you have a 3 kind of segment: low horsepower, medium horsepower, and high horsepower. And India is the largest market for low horsepower segment. So global companies, they have set up their plants in India to cater to Indian market as well as to cater to the world market. And Craftsman in turn supplies to this company, is not only the leading player, is the only supplier to these global tractor companies for export purpose. And there are many such examples like, Uno Minda, the name of the company earlier was Minda Industry. And this company has grown revenue 8 times in last 10 years. They have grown profit 10 times in last 10 years. They are the largest company in India in alloy wheels. They are the largest company in India in airbags. They are the largest company in India in cables. They are the largest company in India in seats. And they have now made a new technological tie-up for EV, electrical vehicle battery. And this company, because their size is so big, the content per vehicle is going up every day. The scope of work is becoming 3x compared to what it used to be 5 years back. And that's why they are also readily positioned to capitalize on Europe plus one opportunity. So this is the real trends. This has already started from last 3 quarters, and we think this will further accelerate over next 2 years. These are the few sectors, on which, we are reasonably bullish over next 12 to 18 months. Say, for example, automobile is one sector on which we are very bullish. And this little bit talk on why we are bullish on auto, but just to put in one line, we believe that we are still far away from the peak, what we have seen in FY18, FY19. And as the economy does the recovery, we believe the industry will do extremely well. Second, of course, is banking. As I said, the non-food credit growth has started moving up. And as that does well, at the other hand, the asset quality has improved significantly. The credit costs have reduced significantly. The banks are now ready to lend. The borrower, which was unhealthy in last 10 years, the borrower health has also improved significantly. So borrower is ready, lender is ready, the growth has started flowing in, and that will flow into the banking profitability. Third, most important, CapEx. As I said in my opening remark, the CapEx was one thing which was missing in India, but thanks to government, the CapEx is now changing a lot. In fact, over next 3 years, we expect CapEx to almost increase by 135% compared to last 3 years. And this is across steel industry, cement industry, PLI-related CapEx, and many more such things. But importantly, when I talk about CapEx, it is not only about the roads and ports and railways. It is also about automation. It is also about smart grid. It is also about technology and innovation. And that's where many companies, particularly the global companies which are listed in India, they are taking huge benefit out of it. For example, data center. India is going to see 5 times increase over next 5 years in data center. And data centers require 3 layers of power security. Not 1 layer, 3 layers. And for each layer, you have a scope of the global multinationals who have listed companies in India. They are biggest beneficiary out of CapEx theme. Lastly, there are many investors, they ask me, don't you think market is overvalued? And the best way to look at whether market is overvalued or not is to look at the earnings growth. Because market is mirror of earnings in the long term. If you look at the EPS of the Nifty in FY19 to FY24, and why I'm saying FY24, because we are already in month of February, so we are just looking 12 months forward. The EPS is likely to increase by 90%, 90. Against that, Nifty is up only 56%. It means valuations have corrected from 24 times to 19 times. At 19 times, we are equal to last 10 years average valuations. This is something very, very important. The valuations are not high. In fact, valuations are corrected significantly. In October 2021, Nifty was 19,000. Today, we are at 17,500. So it means market you are getting at 10% lower price. On top of it, there is a 16 months of time correction. So you add another 10%. On top of it, there is an earnings growth of 50% during the same time. It means markets actually are getting at 40 to 50% discount compared to how you actually currently it is visible. So, and whenever there is a discount, as good chartered accountants and as a good finance professionals, we always take this as an opportunity to add to our shopping list. This is a 10 years chart, which again shows the same thing. That on 10 years valuations, we are almost equal or a little bit less than last 10 years average. Then people talk about what if the S&P 500 comes down. So, I don't know if you can see, look at this slide, a little bit technical, but there is a vertical line which is 0. And on left hand side of your chart and right hand side of chart is a pre and post. And market is always ahead of time. So once the rate hike cycle starts, actually market gives you 15% return. Why? Because before that market comes down 20%. So you don't need to worry beyond a point. Markets are always ahead of time. I remember 23rd March 2020, lockdown day for India, and markets were down 35% in just 2-3 days. But the deaths happened in month of June. And anybody who got scared because his neighbor was getting admitted into hospital ICU, he didn't invest in Indian equity market. Am I right? But market actually did that on 23rd March. So by looking at your neighbor health, if you're not invested in month of June, after that market went up 100%. You need to make use of volatility, that is an opportunity. Uncertainty creates opportunity. If everything is green, you are paying price for that green. Always remember. When it is a yellow, when it's an amber, that's the right time you to be ready. You cannot do everything when everything is green, because when everything is green, that is not visible only to you. It is visible to the entire world. And that's where the mistakes happen. As a fund manager, as a prudent investor, your job is to reduce the risk. And greed and fear are two most important things which you need to remember. When others are greedy, you have to be a little bit fearful. And when others are fearful, you need to be a little bit greedy. Last but most important slide, back to fundamentals. Market is mirrored of earnings growth. Look at 2003 to 2008. Earnings went up 26%, compounded. Sensex became 5 times in 5 years. And then there was a 12 years period of only 9% earnings growth. Sensex also delivered 9.8% compounded. In next 2 to 3 to 4 years, we believe that market will deliver earnings growth of 12 to 18%. And therefore, we expect equity market to continue to outperform any other asset class in next 3 to 5 years. Of course, corrections are part of equity market. Take it as an opportunity. This is 2003 to 2008. Sensex went down 20% plus 5 times during that period. Sensex went down, not stock. Sensex went down 25% 5 times in that golden period. And whosoever got scared by looking at 20% decline, they missed the opportunity of creating 5x returns in 5 times. Whenever economy recovery becomes very strong, mid and small cap always tend to outperform the large cap. So I'm just preempting the question because I know it's a common question. Do you think mid cap and small cap will do better right now or large cap? We believe the opportunity for mid and small cap right now is a little bit more alpha opportunity compared to large cap because you look at 2003 to 2008, GDP moved from 3.9 to 7.7. Small cap index went up 9x. 2009 to 2014, 3% to 6% GDP. Small cap 1.1 times, mid cap 1.3, large cap 1.26. And 2013 to 2018, 5.5 to 7, and you look at 186% by small cap, 157% by mid cap, compared to 75% by large cap. So we believe that the valuations are attractive for mid and small cap space. With that, I would like to end my session, and of course we'll take more thing on during question and answer session. But just from last 2 lines from my side, markets are likely to remain volatile. You can't skip it. Volatility is part of market. Embrace the volatility. Take the advantage of volatility. Don't get carried away because you get the WhatsApps. Disconnect yourself from WhatsApp, then you probably will make more money. Because now we are in a jungle of information. Every 2 minutes, we get some information. And everybody wants to act after receiving that WhatsApp. And people are smart only in hindsight. But life never works like that. Second very important thing, in long term, we are dead. So of course you need to have a long-term view, but blue chip status is not guaranteed. If you want to be in equity market, you need to be in agile. If you are not agile, you'll be thrown out. Very important. 75% of Sensex has changed in last 16 years, and I'm sure 75% of Sensex will change in next 16 years. There is not a single company in Dow Jones today when it was formed. Not a single company. MTNL, Jaiprakash, DLF, BHEL, Century Textile, Glaxo Pharma, Reliance Communication, Reliance Infra, Reliance Capital, and I can go on and on. All these were part of Sensex. So if you think you are buying a blue chip, it may not remain blue chip. BlackBerry and Nokia, they were blue chip companies. Today they are bankrupt companies. You need to be agile. As a corporate, you need to be agile. As an investor, you need to be agile. So invest wisely. Make sure you are investing in the right products who believe in agility. Because if you believe that this is my 10-year stock, moment you think this is a 10-year stock, it's a problem. Correct? You need to think this is a stock in which I'm investing with a long-term horizon. If at any given point of time, the company in which I have invested is not agile enough, get out of it. Very important. Because there is nothing called blue chip. Yesterday's blue are today red chips, and today's blue can potentially become tomorrow's red chips. Exit strategy is most critical. What to buy, everybody knows. Tell me when to sell. That's art and science of equity market. That's what, at least what we believe in, and it is because of our agility and our disciplined exit strategy, that's how we delivered the award-winning performance in last 13 years. With that, thank you very much. And, thanks once again for giving a wonderful opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Kothari. It was really nice to hear from you on the investments, that we should not follow the blue chips. See on other chips also. Lays are good, but you can opt for salad chips, salala chips and all. Thank you very much. So let us have a big round of applause for our speaker. Wait. Now I would like to invite our chairman, vice chairman and treasurer to felicitate our speaker and request Neerab Bhai and Shreyans also to join us on the stage.
Rajeshji, before you leave the podium, our members wants to know what are the 3 sectors where market is fearful and we have to be greedy. Three sectors.
You want me to take it right now?
Yes, sir.
On Q&A, you can enter, sir.
I think on sector-wise, there are 3 sectors on which we are bullish on. One is, of course, capital goods, which I talked about. But that greed and fear, more importantly, you need to do deep dive and you need to do your bottom-up. And that's where basically those things will come out. So sector-wise, there is nothing called greed and fear generally. Like, for example, pharma is one sector which is right now trading at very low valuations, but that doesn't mean you enter pharma. You should not buy any stock unless and until you see growth cycle is going to come back. There are many sectors which goes into long-term, what I would say, very, very low growth arena, correct? And those are the things which you should avoid. So if you think that pharma sector is going to grow, then you should invest because the valuations are attractive. But currently, we are not overweight on pharma. Of course, it is on our watch list. If at any given point in time we believe it is going to drive growth, of course, we'll come back. But CapEx, capital goods, is one sector which looks interesting, but avoid the value traps. There are many capital goods companies, particularly EPC, irrigation, power, transmission, roads, zero cash flow. Those all are classic NPAs in last 10 years. You know, I hope, and I'm sure being chartered accountants, you all know how it gets done. So I don't want to get into it, but those are the things you should avoid. You need to buy the businesses where technology is a moat, R&D is a moat, automation is a moat, robotics is a moat. The company has a product portfolio. Company doesn't believe only in supplying to state electricity board, which has a very poor credit rating, so you don't get your receivables on time, and you get basically problem into working capital. So product portfolio are the companies which you must focus on, and I think there is a huge growth expansion possible into this space of capital goods. Thanks.
Thank you very much. It is now time to be precise and get explicit idea that what is for us in this budget, whether income generated in India or in UAE or global is going to be taxable in India or no, or such more aspects. So we heard from the technical experts. Now we have another technical experts. He is passionate about melodies. So I came to know with someone that he is passionate about the music. So we expect that now we will next voice of Mr. Hitesh Kajaria. He is going to explain us that what is the impact on us NRIs of the budget. And to introduce Mr. Kajaria, I would like to invite our executive committee member, CA Rishi Chawla, to the stage.
Thank you, Secretary Staff, for the opportunity. And thank you, Rajeshji. What a wonderful session. I think the energy was very high. I was literally thinking when it will get over, and I opened my laptop. So definitely, really an eye-opener one. As we know, budget is a hallmark event for all the people, I would say, especially like in India. I mean, budget is one of the budget is one of the thing I remember that always the TV is always on the full day. I mean, the cricket match, the other thing, the budget was another one. And as the saying goes, budget is something which does not limit our freedom. Actually, it gives us more freedom. But the only rule in budget is do not go over budget. And now to talk a little bit more from the perspective of an NRI, we have a very knowledgeable speaker with us, Mr. Hitesh Kajaria. I'll just read out some of his achievements. He has over 38 years of experience in tax, transfer pricing, and consulting. He's serving as an advisor with KPMG and has led the practice of tax and regulatory advisory from 2018 to 2020. His articles got regularly featured in magazines and newspapers and is a regular feature in international media in India and abroad. He has co-authored BCAS publications such as Taxation of Non-Resident non-residents, FEMA, transfer pricing manual. He was a visiting faculty of RBI Bankers Training College. And the list is endless. I think without taking much time, please join me with a big round of applause to welcome Mr. Hitesh on the stage.
Thank you so much for those kind words. I was introduced as being melodious. We just heard a very rousing session on the stock markets. I can only remember one song of Vijay Kedia. India ka Nifty all time high, फिर भी मेरा stock आधा. So I feel that while it's good to talk about the stock market, frankly, my experience has been a little different. I have also tried to invest directly. I've also tried to invest in mutual funds. But I have come to the conclusion in my own personal capacity, I don't know whether it's true for you, and certainly not true for my esteemed speaker, that best it's left to the experts. So from 2013 onwards, the performance of a fund that I've invested in hands down beats whatever I've tried to do. So from now on, at least for the last 3-4 years, I have actually stopped taking direct positions in the market. Having said this, let's look at, certainly the economic outlook is extremely bright. As they say, this is the decade for India. And looking at India's technological prowess, one word which is coined is that it's not only the decade, but it's also the tech aid of India. And I think hats off to India for having achieved so much on the digital front. In fact, regularly we have people who come in from overseas and they are just amazed at the payments that we can make straight away on our mobile phones using UPI. It's very amazing for them to watch, and they come from countries like America, Canada, etc., but they say this sort of facility is just not available. Then CoWIN app development and the vaccination of 102 crores of our population is also something that we should justifiably be proud of. I think in my personal view, having looked at so many budgets, quite frankly, a budget is not meant to please anybody. That's what I have come to a conclusion, because Ghalib ka sher hai, before every budget, हजारों ख्वाहिशें इतनी और हर ख्वाहिश पे दम निकले, right? So everybody and every sector wants more and more SOPs. And the poor finance minister has very little elbow room, quite frankly. If you look at the budget, which is nothing but a receipts and payments, it's not even income and expenditure, it's receipts and payments of the government, one sees that if you take into account the interest payments for past for borrowings, subsidies on food and fertilizer, and on fuel now, after this war especially, there is very little left actually for the finance minister to give out. And therefore we talk about broadening the base, we talk about, plugging loopholes and all of that. But the truth is that only 4 crores out of 140 crores in India file tax returns. So whatever changes we are discussing really fall again on a very narrow base, especially when you are looking at direct taxes. So with that huge pinch of salt, while it's great for the media, it's great for analysts, it's wonderful for me, I'm grateful I could get a chance to read what the budget is all about. Thanks to you inviting me. But otherwise, I think despite whatever budget, India is definitely going to prosper. And let me be very candid, it is not due to government that India is prospering, it's the enterprise of the Indian people which is driving this. Let's look at the key takeaways. Fiscal deficit, they say, is being brought down, 6.5% to 5.9%, with a target in 2025 to bring it to the 4.5%. Now, mind you, this is again a huge gap. And I'm not sure in the next year, which is actually the election year, whether they will be able to keep that downward glide. This year's downward glide has been largely because of the growth in the economy, the buoyancy in the tax collections, especially the direct tax collections and the increasing and steadying GST collections. But it's good that at least this budget has promised to continue on that path, and it is not a profligate budget, because otherwise, in international ratings market, India still is a capital-starved country. The ratings of India just cannot suffer anymore. We are still heavily an oil-borne economy. We are still heavily a foreign capital-dependent economy. And therefore, to my mind, this is the single largest redeeming feature of this budget. I will not go through so many announcements. And again, we have this tendency of the budget being used to announce so many things. For example, last time there was a comprehensive view to be taken on the entire crypto world. But this year, and yes, tax was imposed. 30% tax was imposed, making it one of the harshest crypto regimes in the world. And we were promised that an entire new regime will be brought out in consultation with the Reserve Bank of India. But I think we have not heard anything, and that remains clearly an enigma. So while these are great intentions, a lot of things depend on really how they are going to be implemented. And implementation really is the key. The Honorable Speaker mentioned about CapEx, which is wonderful. And it has, a lot of good statistics are given out of, let's say, so many crores of toilets being, let's say, installed. Now, I'm personally aware of situations where toilets have been installed, but unfortunately there is no water supply. So now these are the linkages which are important for some benefit which is well intended to actually bear fruit in the manner in which it is supposed to bear fruit. Let's go to the direct tax proposals. Again, this whole issue of the new regime and the old regime. Now, 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, actually, the government moved all the corporates to a new regime. When they said that if you give up your incentives, benefits, etc., and you give up your past MAT credits, then you can move to a lower tax regime of only 15% from the existing 25 plus surcharge, etc. Now, it was a great move, but again, they limited it to new companies only. So what happens is, obviously, therefore, people will plan their expansion in 100% subsidiaries of their own parent companies to take advantage of this new rates. In somewhat a similar fashion, the government now has given this message very clearly that it wants to do away with all sorts of deductions, exemptions, etc. And therefore, it is pushing people to give up all those SOPs and move to a simpler, lower tax rate regime, which is fine. I don't think there is any, one should have any quarrel with that. It's only that, I'm not so sure whether the old regime is as bad as it is made out to be. In fact, in each particular case, and we did some 14, 15 variants of all this, we found that, that the old regime is in fact beneficial in a majority of cases. Of course, there are some exceptions where people can't take advantage of the deductions or investments, etc. But I think that it will be some time before the old regime completely disappears. Even now, they have made the new regime actually the default regime, so you have to be careful to opt for the old regime if you think that's going to benefit you. No change is another big relief, as he said, the non-event of the budget. Yes, besides the alignment of capital gains, there were two other worries. The other worries were the introduction of, again, inheritance tax or estate duties. Now, this has been under discussion for a very, very long time. And actually, there was a real fear 2 years ago that this would actually become reality. Now, what happens is, of course, this benefits all the intermediaries like accountants and lawyers, etc., who rush to create discretionary trusts and structures and private holding companies and triangular holding companies, all of those. But honestly, if you ask me today, in a country which has absolutely no social security, to expect that a person without social security will pay a high income tax, and of course 43.7 is brought down to 39, which seems small or low as compared to some of the Nordic countries especially, and even the US. But please remember that those economies have very, very strong social security networks. So there is free education, there is free health, there is a lot of other subsidies given. In fact, I know people who come to India for training in chosen professions and skills which get subsidized by the government so that their entire cost is borne by the government. Now, all that, obviously, India cannot afford. But to say that we are now competitive because we have reduced our tax rate from 43.7 to now 39, I mean, it's only a psychological thing of going below 40%, right? But hold on, after that you have to pay GST at 18% for every purchase that you make almost, right? So if you add up the GST, which comes out of your post-tax income, really India is still a very high-taxed economy. And to my mind, I would still love, to go back to those days when the magic numbers were 10, 20, and 30. These were the only three rates, right? Now, those were magic numbers. After that, a lot of changes have happened, and we are today where we are. I wanted to touch upon this taxation of specified gifts received from resident Indian extended to non-resident. Now, the allegation somewhere is that some money is being round-tripped. These non-residents are taking gifts from residents. Now, it's a reverse kind of a situation. Earlier, we obviously have a Section 56, which taxes all gifts received by residents more than 50,000 rupees, except in case of a marriage or given to a blood relative, etc. But now we have the other way around, where, these things are also going to be attracting tax. And one of the things which was being tried out, perhaps, was that people who had not become pure non-residents but were just taking resident and non-resident or not ordinary resident status were being given these gifts, and they have sought to plug this loophole. There's another provision which was touched upon by one of the speakers. I'll come to that, 5627B. And it is not so good in that sense, and even the one on P notes, I'm not too sure whether that's really intended the way it will be. No change in corporate tax rate. Of course, one more problem, the companies now will not be allowed a deduction for the payments that they will make to micro, medium, and small enterprises within the time prescribed in that act. Now, that time prescribed is only 45 days. So, effectively, there is no saving provision also that, okay, you will be allowed a deduction in the year in which you make payment, or you will be allowed as a deduction provided you pay it before the date of filing your tax return. All those have been done away with. In the guise of trying to actually help medium, small, and micro enterprises. Now, all this 43B is being again littered with this disallowance section. Now, take a company which is fairly large size, and he mentioned so many of these becoming bigger companies. If you really have to see the number of vendors in the MSME segment which are actually going to be supplying goods to these companies, they'll be in hundreds and thousands. Now, a company is supposed to therefore keep track of those, first of all, to keep track of their status, to keep track of when their bills have been received, to keep track of when the payments are being made. And again, this will become part of the tax audit report, mind you. Now, how is a chartered accountant going to verify hundreds and thousands of small vendors to see whether each payment is made within 45 days? So again, I don't know. We have this tendency somewhere to litter our act with so many small changes. I still remember in 1961, when the new act was actually promulgated. If you read the preamble of that act, the first act at that time, it stated, and it was also in the memorandum explaining, and the preamble and the notes to clauses explaining why 1961 act was brought in after the 1922 act. It said, learning from the experiences of having administered income tax in India from 1922 to 1947 under British Raj, and from 1947 to 1960 in the under our independence rule, having learned all the loopholes, we are now plugging it to make it a consolidated act. After that, sadly, in 60 years, there have been 6,000 changes. You can count them. 6,000 changes. Now, every year, some new change comes, which now accountants will get busy trying to keep track of, comply with, etc. Why are we wasting the nation's energy in so many man-hours of unproductive, unfruitful work? In fact, what is going to happen? Many large companies will now stop enrolling vendors of the MSME category. They will say, no, I don't want you as a vendor. You form a cooperative, now 15% new concessional tax rate, you form a new cooperative, you supply to me, you are out of MSME, I am out of this burden. This is the unintended consequence of trying to bring out a change with an ostensibly noble purpose. Purpose is noble, but the way you bring about it, you penalize that very company who is supporting the MSME by making this disallowable, as if most companies are actually delaying payments to MSMEs. Really, I can show you government companies which are delaying payments to MSMEs. I can show you government itself, arms of government delaying payments to MSMEs. Why are we only penalizing companies? Again, and people who are carrying on business. Again, scope of business expand, this entire business income is expanded. Now there was a decision again which they overruled, which stated that you cannot really compute a TDS unless it is given in cash. Now, not only cash, but even in kind, and this was brought about, the genesis of this change is the malpractices in the pharmaceutical industry, which were giving freebies to the doctors. So they brought in this section 194R and a circular which actually tightened everything. Now it becomes so obnoxious that even a small calendar or a diary or whatever, the company has to think twice and consult its tax advisors. Can I do this or can I not do this? Obviously, tax advisors gain a little bit in all that. So because of all these changes, practicing accountants in India have always been a no recession profession. India has gone through many recessions, but chartered accountancy and tax practice in India is a no recession profession. Possibly even lawyers, correct, but at high-end litigation stage. So sunar ki ek luhar ki, aisa hai. We keep on getting small bite. The lawyer says in Supreme Court, you deposit 50 lakhs, 5 lakhs per hearing, but first advance 50 lakhs. Okay. Now we only dream of these numbers. So this is exactly what is happening, and this is something which actually, over the period of years, I have realized actually takes away a lot of energy which can otherwise be channeled into doing something more constructive. Quite frankly, 1985, when tax audit itself had come in, we all professionals hailed it. I really don't know whether it served national interest, truthfully. Because despite tax audit, whatever assessments they want to do, they are anyway doing. Correct? It only what happens is that I remember in the year 1985, I had started my practice. Somebody in the cloth market in Kalba Devi signed 400 tax audit reports. Only on his card was written, I am so-and-so. Exactly, I am so-and-so, his surname, chartered accountant. Nobody verified. After 4 years, when the assessment came up, all these reports were bogus. They tried to go after the CA. He was never found. Maybe he was never a CA. So this is what happens when you over-regulate. And this is exactly the bane of India. Quite frankly, government needs to get off the backs of citizens and let them be. My dream budget is, don't present a budget for 5 years. At least don't make any changes in the direct tax or the indirect tax proposals. And the beauty is, even the tax officers don't know what the changes are happening. Because you go into their office for an assessment, they are still dealing with the law 3 years ago. Because that is the assessment cycle. So they will not know in future what is coming. It's only we who are supposed to keep on educating our clients, and the clients have to keep on complying. So somewhere I think we are losing that balance. Despite being a well-intended situation, this is what is happening. Now the one on the top. What is this? This is section 5627. So earlier, what was the abuse? The abuse was that there were certain companies who were subscribing to the equity capital of unlisted companies with very high share premiums, and the allegation was that this was just cash being laundered and becoming white money. So they brought in this provision where they were saying that, okay, this is a valuation norm we are prescribing, Rule 11 UA. If you get your shares allotted at that price or something lower than that is fine. Anything excess of that will be treated as income of the company. Until now, non-residents in law were outside this provision. Why I mentioned in law? Because in practice, they were not spared. In practice, the department used to invoke another section, 68B, unexplained credit, to hit that company again. Now they have brought it under 5627. So what happens is, on the one hand, we want to encourage startups. How will you value a startup? Basis what future it has. What are the future valuation norms? Usually discounted cash flow. Now, usually discounted cash flow, when you go for an assessment after 3 years, he will say, okay, but your projections were all wrong. You have not achieved what you had promised. So now after 3 years, I will determine that Rule 11 UA certificate was also not correctly done. And therefore, now I'm going to penalize the company. So this is again something which is going to cause a lot of heartburn. And on the other hand, we are saying we are a capital-starved country. We want more and more foreign capital to come in. Now, what is the abuse that they are trying to cure? Is it that the abuse that they are trying to cure is that the Indian money gets routed outside, which then comes in by way of round-tripping, by way of, hefty share premiums in Indian companies? Well, there is nothing hidden about it. Even today, there are so many companies listed on stock exchanges which have done the same thing. This applies to only unlisted companies. What about the listed companies? So tomorrow they will bring in another law maybe to say now even listed companies. Now suppose what would have happened this particular FPO which failed or was successful but money was returned. After you subscribed, the price went down. So will he say that now that difference I'm going to tax in the hands of the company? Because that was not the correct value. Who will judge all this? And these are all small little changes and tweaks which come in the small fine print of the finance bill and create havoc. Now, all Ps have what is commonly known as a ratchet structure or waterfall structure. That, okay, I will give you some money now. You invest, I will take a certain percentage. You show me performance, I will come in at a higher premium. You show me more performance, you can give me lesser shares at higher premium. These are all ratchet structures, waterfall structures, purely legitimate for commercial purposes. All of these arrangements, now mind you, this is actually retrospective. Because all your waterfall arrangements are new issues of equity are going to happen after this budget is passed. You will have to relook at all those. So again, lawyers and accountants are working overtime to say, okay, now how do we overcome this? So again, I am saying today you have all the mechanism. You have electronic assessment now. You have freed up the time of your officers. Let them focus on the big cases and punish those. Why do you want to brand everybody with the same brush? Everybody will now have to comply with this particular provision. Now it is a very simple, small one line to say not being non-resident is dropped. 3 words are dropped. Means everybody has to comply. Now, more work for the lawyers and the accountants. Refunds, inventory valuation. Now cost accountants were feeling left out. Chartered accountants are doing everything. Company secretaries also under Companies Act have some statutory role. Under which act, poor cost accountant is doing some cost valuation, something costing rules, whatever. Now Income Tax Act also says, no, Baba, you also are welcome. That valuation inventory now will be referred to cost accountants. Now how they will value, what rules will be prescribed, how will they monitor the quality of all that? Not thought through. But compliance burden increases because all of a sudden in the audit he will say, no, I am not happy with your inventory valuation. I am requisitioning A, B, C and company, cost accountant, do a cost valuation. Now again, all what they will pay the cost accountant, everything is going to be decided by the commissioner. Do you think the commissioner will pay a market rate for those services? And I am very, very sure that unethical taxpayers will compensate the cost accountant more to give whatever valuation he wants. But why are we doing all this? So each year something or the other happens to keep life joyful for us. And now let me tell you again, UAE has also introduced corporate tax. In now the new Globe rules, Globe 1, Globe 2, we are going to all have fun. Why? Because whatever I have learned in my 38 years is now going to all vanish. So the youngsters in this particular audience, you have great future. Because from a no recession profession, our profession will now become high growth profession. Because not only domestic, we'll have to understand all globe rules also. What a beautiful country this is. Every day something new comes up, never a dull day. In tax, that's why I keep doing tax. I've never signed a balance sheet. Again, threshold, now this another one, now remittances outside India, from 5% to 20%. They've increased the limit. Now when that government functionary was asked this question, why have you done it from 5 to 20? Only answer that he gave is what? People who can afford outside remittances are usually in the 20% bracket. What has the capital remittance to do with the income that you have earned for that particular year beats me. And again, what will happen? This is an additional compliance measure. Now, suppose I have to remit under LRS $200,000 overseas, right? Now, I have to provide for that extra 20%, which will be given to me as a credit in my next installment of advance tax. But again, what happens? Paperwork, trail, electronic, filing under 26AS, matching with the permanent account number, matching with the Aadhaar card number, matching with your return. So everything becomes more and more and more complex. With no threshold, absolutely. 5%, okay, one could have understood. Now 20% straight. Now sometimes it so happens that, your particular amount has matured and you want to send it overseas. Now, thankfully, medical and education, they have not touched. But you could be planning on a long time, you've just retired, you want to take a trip overseas with your wife, you want to do a tour package. Your income may or may not be in the 20% bracket. But still, now we'll have to comply because there's a 20% bracket. Financial services. Again, this is one good change, frankly, because there is in India a very insidious provision which says that if the company is over-leveraged, then only 30% of EBITDA will be allowed as an interest deduction. All the balance interest will be disallowed. For years, and banks and insurance companies obviously were exempted. Why? Because banks and insurance companies deal in money actually. Money is for them the raw materials. How can you disallow and put an artificial cap? But the same argument we were making for all NBFCs also. For so many years, that what is an NBFC? In simple terms, NBFC is a 363 rule. What is 363 rule like banking? Take money at 3%, give out at 6%, 3 o'clock, go and play golf. Correct? If you can collect, mind you. NBFCs were doing this same business. But for years, after this amendment was made, NBFCs were now they have brought in this amendment, thankfully, but prospectively. Past ka jo ho gaya, sorry. Now, at least, we will not give you that artificial disallowance of that 30% EBITDA restriction. Again, tax withholding, all these are very, very small provisions. I don't think we should get into this. Now, another one is life insurance policy. Life insurance policy, again, they've hit hard. Poor life insurance companies were just trying to build up and they've hit it. What is the change? The change is that hitherto, if ULIP policies from 2019, you were not allowed that when you receive the money back from a ULIP policy, you were said that income is going to be taxable. Now they have extended to all policies, which in the aggregate, if your premium that you have paid exceeds 5 lakhs of rupees, so whether it is one policy, 5 lakhs, whether it is 5 policies, aggregate more than 5 lakhs, then the money that you receive back will be treated like your income. Now, I'm not too sure whether really that what you receive back is all your income. If you ask me, if there is a single premium policy, let's say more than 5 lakhs of rupees, what were the insurance companies doing? They were combining an insurance product with investment product, with abysmally poor returns, let me add. 5%, 6% they were giving. Now, so what used to happen is when that money used to come back, that extra 5 or 6% used to come back tax-free. Now what is the change? The change is that not only that additional amount, the entire money which you bring back will all be taxable. So suddenly your capital investment becomes your income in the year in which it comes back. So now from 1st July, when these new policies are issued, I don't think anybody will opt for these policies, which will obviously mean 10 to 12% drop in the top line of all the frontline insurance companies, including LIC of India, which is anyway struggling after its IPO. So this is again something which has been brought about to plug a loophole. The loophole that they thought was something which should not have got a benefit. To my mind, an insurance product and an investment product are entirely two separate things and should never be combined. So whichever agents missold that as an investment product, okay, maybe people in their ignorance did it. But at least from now on, at least this measure will stop all such mis-selling. This is that premium I had said. Capital impact on capital flows finally, okay. So 3-4 positives. First is obviously no new taxes, no inheritance tax. Secondly, we have strategic divestment now, because what is strategic divestment? IDBI Bank, they want to privatize. So from this year, retrospectively, they have brought in, which means if there is more than a 51% shareholding, earlier normal provision is that all the back losses would lapse. For strategic divestment, they have brought about that the losses will continue to be available. So when the bidders are bidding for such strategic assets, under the strategic divestment scheme, they will actually calculate all these cash flow implications of future taxes also being saved, which is good. Electronic gold to physical gold to all of that is, to my mind, it's a misnomer. Frankly, it doesn't affect jewelry at all. This is meant to affect gold bars, gold coins. Now, I clearly know this, that people who are interested in physical gold will never change to electronic gold. People interested in electronic gold will never go to physical gold. I have been trying to convince my wife for many years, let's buy this, RBI's bonds, strategic bonds, whatever. She says, no, I would rather have that bar and I will sleep over it, because it gives me more comfort. Tomorrow, I don't know, your database may get corrupt or something may happen and they'll say, no, there is no gold. Illogical, but that's how, and I don't know whether you have such experiences, but every time, I interact with my wife, and we are married also incidentally, about 35, 36 years, I learn something new every time. So this physical gold, electronic gold, she gave me this gyan when I was watching the budget on TV. And ease of doing business, the general thing. Fair value, direct impact, classical structures, and again this repayment by REITs and InvITs. So InvITs and REITs were new kids on the block. People were investing because we were getting 3 things back. We were getting dividends, we were getting rental income, we were getting interest income. And there was a return of capital. Now again, in the same fashion as life insurance, they are saying the entire return is taxable. So again, I don't know what is the logic for making a capital investment when it is returned back to you as your income. But again, therefore, what's going to happen is going to affect the popularity of REITs and InvITs. Just when I think the market was ripe and people had a good experience in the existing 2 or 3 REITs that have been floated for the public. Unfortunately, this has come in. I think I have finished. I am slightly over time, but happy to take any questions in the panel.
Thank you, Mr. Gajaria. As you rightly said, future of tax practitioners are brighter, not only in India, in UAE as well. And that's the reason I quit after 21 years industry and started tax practice. So big round of applause for our speaker. Now I would like to invite our chairman, vice chairman, and C. Rishi Chawla to felicitate our speaker. May I request XCOM and all the speaker on the dais, please, for a group photo. Rajesh ji, Kothari sir, for a group photo, please. Thank you very much, everyone. Now it's time for the second last segment of today's session, which is going to be more interesting as panel discussion, where we will get opportunity to listen from the industry experts and financial advisors on how they see Indian economy to grow as largest global economy. And for that, I would like to invite our chairman, Sri Anurag Chaturvedi, to the stage to introduce the panelists and invite them one by one. So today's panelists are CA Dinesh Kothari ji, Mr. Paras Sadatpuri ji, Mr. Rajesh Kothari, Mr. Hitesh Gajaria ji, and CA Shreyansh Shah.
Friends, first of all, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our all eminent speakers who have just shared the knowledge. They have traveled from India. So big round of applause for all of them. And also, today we have leaders from our community here, Indian community out here. Although they are extremely very busy because, you know, we all know that the moment budget comes in, obviously they have so many commitment out there. But then we have learned industrialist and business professional, and obviously our mentors in many, many ways out there. So I would like to first invite CA Dinesh Kothari ji, who is the chairman of Delhi Private School, who have started his journey within the UAE itself, and over almost 3 decades, he has been leader, 4 decades. So Dinesh Kothari ji, big round of applause for him. Oh, please Dinesh ji. And Dinesh ji is, one of the great things is there that he is not just only built the profession, the chartered accountant's image, but also he's revolutionized the entire education industry here. And many of our colleagues, kids are there in Delhi Private School, and they're hailing and they're looking forward towards making their career out there. So big round of applause for Dinesh Kothari ji. And the next panelist is there, Mr. Paras Sadatpuri ji. And I think everybody here in hall must know about him. He's basically the chairman of Nikkei Group of Companies, and a very thorough gentleman who have been always vocal about various policies, because he have been part of the administration back in India for number of years before he started his business entrepreneurial journey out there. And every time we go and meet leaders within the UAE itself, the very first thing that we find, if let's say anybody's meeting out there and Parasji is there, most of the UAE leaders have a friendly relation with him, and we are always thankful to him whenever we require any support from the UAE ministries here or ministers. Parasji is always there for us. So big round of applause for Parasji. And to moderate the session, I would like to also invite one of our young chartered accountant, Shreyan Shah, who is basically looking into a lot many other, besides obviously the practice area that he look after that, but he is also instrumental in managing a lot of diversified investments and supporting the fraternity from an investment perspective. So definitely, Shreyansh, I would like to invite you on the stage. So please come and do the session. And obviously the speakers, please, you don't need an introduction because you already spoken about it. So please, Vikas. So friends, while we'll be asking a number of questions to them, direct questions, if you have some questions which during the presentation you could not find an answer for that, you are more than welcome to ask that question. And we wanted to make this panel discussion more interesting out here now. Thank you so much. Over to you, Shansh.
Thank you, Anurag ji. Thank you, ICI, for giving me this opportunity to sit on a dais where I think each one's experience is at least 4 times my age. So it is always, so you're younger than me in age, just by experience you're older. That's what I will try to say. So it's a great opportunity. I'll quickly begin this, and my eyes straight away fall on Paras ji. And being a diplomat, ex-diplomat, I can't wait to ask him this question. That this budget kind of showed good economics, but usually there's a saying, good economics can also mean bad politics. But has that changed? Is good economics good politics, or what is your opinion? Will the government face some backlash on this? This is my first part question, and second, I'll come back to your business, which I'll take up later once you answer this.
Thank you very much. Good evening, my dear friends. We are essentially the most novice people in front of the huge experts on the dais. I was just reading somewhere that in India there are about 990 economists and before the budget. And on the first day of the budget, there are about 590,000. And on the second day, which is today, are 990,000. And on the third, they're back to 990. So we are in the second group. So, secondly, I don't know why my dear friend Hitesh was whining so much and complaining about this budget when the chartered accountant profession has been really getting huge fillip. If whatever is the number of the chartered accountants, the salaries being asked, thanks to these complicated budgets, salaries are being asked now 40% more. So you should be happier. I think today the world is different with this huge information technology. So I don't think that good budget or good economics can be bad politics. I think on the contrary, people are forgetting about the political side of it. I'll tell you as a diplomat, past diplomat. Bulk of the time when I was there, I quit my job in 1985. By that time, the Indian economy had not yet opened. As you know, Dr. Manmohan Singh came in 1991 and it opened. So at that time, diplomats' main job was how do we earn political brownies from the country where we are posted in. Gone are those days. Now we are asked to only focus on economy, business, one-to-one relationship. So today's world, I think good economics is certainly very good politics. And thanks to that, you saw the re-election of the current dispensation of BJP, 2 terms at least. And inshallah, the 3rd term will continue only really because of the very good economics. Politics will keep on happening, and there'll be some always people who will pull you down when you are flying up. So.
True. What a wonderful answer. I mean, we should learn. The diplomat tag still stays on, from you. So the other question, I'll come back to Dinesh Bhai just after this. But the other question was when Rajesh Bhai opened up the China +1 tag, I immediately gazed my eye on how you were going to react to this. So as a chairman of Nikkei, I'm sure you have production facilities or production in China. And when are you going to move to India? Is the PLI scheme enough for you? Let's be realistic and honest. I'll try and pinch you in this a little bit. So what more would you want so that all Nikkei products become made in India?
So my first career posting happened to be in China.
Wow.
And without gauging my age, I went to China in 1970. And let me tell you, Beijing was the Peking. At that time, we used to call it Peking. Now we call it as Beijing. In entire Beijing, and if I can say in entire China, and mind you my words, there was not one private car in entire Beijing. And therefore, in entire China. There were only government cars or few taxis for the foreigners. From those ashes, China has risen to be the perhaps biggest economic power. We say the US economy is $23 trillion and China is $17 trillion. India is still at $3.5 trillion. Kudos to them, the way they have separated the communism as politics to economics as the capitalism. This is a new hybrid thing. When we were studying, we were reading only as a communism, or capitalism, or then dictatorship, or the kingdoms, etc. That's all. This is a really hybrid of maintaining the communism at the political level and the economics at the capitalist level. If I can dare to say this, somebody said that the next decade belongs to India. I think the next 77 years, which are the remaining years of the century, really belong to India. And I'm saying with a lot of insight and a lot of really thought. Today, India is at 3.5 billion population. Imagine it has got to grow. The mean age, average age is only 28. China is at 32 plus, 33. Japan is 48. India is the only, and the whole world requires the youth, the educated people. What is happening in Sweden and entire Europe? They don't have people. They are importing people from Africa and so many other countries. And now you see all the troubles taking place in France, in Sweden, in Belgium, in Germany, and everywhere. We have our own population. And we are the most peaceful and harmonious population in the world. I tell you, I'm sorry, I'm taking some time, but I'm getting excited to tell you, as chairman of the IBPC, I had invited the police chief here to speak to us. And you see, it was thanks to one single person what you see the safety and security in Dubai. I invited him and I told him how is the Indian community, and he really delighted us, saying that the most peaceful and the most intelligent community in entire UAE is the Indians. And he says not only the least amount of crimes or murders or all the crimes, but even the police, what you call it, mukhalfa, is fines of on the road. They are also the least. And he said, look at your neighbor. So we will not be only great asset to our own country, but we have the capacity to supply this, the human dividend, the demographic dividend to the whole world. So India is on the run, unless there are some very extraordinary things happening, war between India and China. Only that is the only thing. Pakistan, etc., is not a problem at all now. So save those things. Otherwise, we are the one who will be seeing the century growing at a very, very steady pace.
Thank you, sir. So quickly, I know the audience is itching, but I have to ask this question to Dineshji. Dineshji, I'm also a product of your education system. So I understand one man can make a huge difference. In this budget, a lot of talk on R&D happened. I'm sure your eyes were very fixated on those. Are these real? I mean, are these going to make a real difference? Those 150 nursing colleges that they have announced, this, that. By statistics, we have 1/3 of our doctors in US, which are of Indian origin, but real education has not really come from India for them. It's their own intelligence. So how do you think the education system should be in India, and what this budget should have done better to cover that?
Okay, first of all, good evening to everyone. And it was wonderful to see two things today evening. Chartered accountants reciting poetry, because our profession is generally known to be most boring profession.
True.
Hitesh, thank you so much. It was wonderful. Now, coming to this education, what is about this nursing colleges? It was very clearly mentioned that 157 hospitals which were built in last many years, they did not have nursing colleges. So this is a perfect attachment to that. The most important thing which I saw in the budget, yes, I was very excited that government has taken this time education as a very serious project. Allocating funds for digitalization of libraries. They are going to make libraries which are digital libraries. That means they want to reach rural India in a technological advanced manner. See, at the end of the day, as the Dalai Lama always said, the only way to fight poverty is to fight illiteracy. And I think government has taken it a step forward. Not only they are going to have so many ECOL institutions and employ so many additional teachers. That means education is on a priority. So when education is on priority, I think country is on the right path. So coming to that, yes, this is a good budget for education sector. I think the allocation on this segment is very decent and very plausible and appreciable. And that means we are on the right track. There are a few things, I mean, as you go along, it's difficult to do everything in one go. And we must understand, 24 is an election budget year. Right. Economics and politics go hand in hand.
That's correct.
I'm sorry, Paras bhai, they go hand in hand. Because at the end of the day, and it's good that it goes hand in hand because public is not foolish. They will see what government has promised and what they deliver. So if they deliver what they have indicated yesterday, with this tribal education particularly, which is fantastic. I think digital universities are fantastic, libraries are fantastic. The allocation of funds for education is very high this time, which is outstanding. So we are on the right track. So I think this budget has been a good step towards it. I only hope. Now coming to what have they been doing? Now I have a school in Jodhpur, as you know, which is run not-for-profit institution. And government has been giving us about 20 lakh rupees every third year for Atal labs. Wow. They come and inspect our labs and they see if they are doing a good job. We have proper science labs. They give us money and come back for the audit to see what they have given, have we implemented. So government is genuinely helping good institutions by providing funds. And these are not loans, these are grants. But they want to make sure that what they have granted you, you employed it gainfully. So this is further step towards that. So I think we are...
So folks, this is the ground...
I'm on the
ground reality check for you, which was my next question. But Dineshji being... Dineshji has already anticipated my question. My work is done here.
Okay.
I just add I forgot to give you the answer about 1+1. There's no doubt that China has been the manufacturer of the whole world. So this COVID really showed that it's very, very dangerous to have that much of dependence upon only one country. And the whole supply chain could be serious threat. Look at the microchips, look at so many different things. Even with this war with Ukraine, who produces very small amount of wheat, the whole Egyptian economy came to really knees thanks to only that essentially. But world has come to realize that they cannot depend upon one country. So they very consciously are shifting some part of their base from China to India. And India is very democratic country, there's a full rule there. So people are much more comfortable in a democratic country like India rather than having full dependence upon China. Yes, there is an alternative. Somebody said it is not full-fledged alternative, but this alternative is absolutely likely to grow in a higher percentage from 5% to 10% to, I think it can go easily to about 35 to 40%. Yes, over a period of time. Thank you.
So Anurag, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to ask a question to Rajesh. Rajesh, as we talk about the highest rate of tax globally is in India at the moment. So now the budget talks about reduction of that highest rate of tax, in corporates, to bring it down, 25%. If the income threshold is there. How do you see that, it will gonna instigate a lot of foreign entities to enter market, and how do you see, what kind of impact that you essentially see because of this reduction in the rate of tax? Will it gonna change the Indians' image like highest tax charging countries to something moderate one?
No, I don't think so. Any significant change from that perspective. It is just the taxation has been changed only at the individuals levels. Am I right? So that 43 to 39. I mean, it's a neutral from the. If you ask me from the global investor perspective, does it change anything either plus or minus? I don't think so, because at the end of the day, we all need to remember that for any investor, local or global, they always look at the alternatives. And if you offer the high growth with the continuity of the policy at the reasonable valuation, you attract capital. What is important, is, as Hitesh ji has also mentioned, that, the litigation should be avoided, the reassessment and all that stuff. That's basically what makes life difficult for any global investor. Not only investor, even for the global corporates, before they invest into India as an economy. So those are the things where we need to be mindful. Those are the things which we need to take care of. If we do that, then I think India will attract huge opportunity for FDI. Not only FII, but huge FDI opportunities already coming. You are seeing a large investments by, even for example, Foxconn of the world, for the Apple, largest supply chain of Apple. So I think you will see more names over next 2, 3, 4 years, and increasingly India will become the largest, right now we are the largest pharma store for the world. We are medical store for the world. We are also the largest, IT for the world. And days are not far, well, probably will be one of the largest in specialty chemical, will be one of the largest in electronics, and many more such categories.
Very good. I think well said. My another question to Hitesh ji. Hitesh ji, I mean, you see that, I mean, not, because you talk about tax, so I'm just asking a little bit different question to you. As you say that, they're talking about the credit lines and, to reviving MSMEs and things like that, the budget talks about it. And the kind of capex that they have figured out, budgeted for that entire thing, do you see that it will gonna prosper, the further growth? It will be growth stimulator within the economy, or how do you see that? Because this is a sector that we all need. I mean, MSME.
No, and I think, obviously, if I have to spend money, it is better I spend it on capital expenditure, which will give me a long-term return, rather than frittering away into revenue expense, which is nothing but your salaries and your organization, etc. So, to my mind, the more the capex, the more the employment generation capacity, the more the productivity, the more the savings and investment in the hands of the people, it can create a virtuous cycle. And in order to create that virtuous cycle, there are two things. The capex expenditure of the government is one, but again, this opening of lines of credit, especially to rural people, to rural economy, those are two good signs. Again, as I said, we will see how it is implemented. That is the key, really, if you ask me. Even if you say, let's say, divestment, last year they had budgeted 51,000 crores, which they are going to achieve. Again, this year they are being modest. They are again targeting 51,000 crores. But please remember, last year you had two large disinvestments. You had Air India and you had LIC IPO. Now again, this year, unless they actually gear up right now, it will be at least a period of 9 to 12 months before you can get something successfully divested. So I think a lot depends on how implementation is going to take place.
That's very well said. Dineshji and Parasji, one question that I want to ask. Like, so many years we're seeing essentially NDA-driven government out there. We see a lot of budget that we are coming out there for the last 5 years, Arun Jaitley ji and then Nirmala Sitharaman ji. Following those budgets, there's a lot of been said, a lot of been corrected, a lot of been seen out there. If we see today from now 23 and 25 onward, 23, within the 23 and 25, do you see that considering the consistency, was there any consistency within the government reforms that they're trying to bring out there? We see like a lot of infra-driven projects are happening in India. Do you see the outlook for within the UAE businesses, good opportunity for them to get into India at this point in time? And going forward, what's your expectation from that?
Absolutely. See, countries like UAE, I think they have the biggest sovereign fund in the world. I thought it was Norway, but they have surpassed much bigger than Norway. Let me give you the figures. It's somewhere about UAE, I'm saying, not Abu Dhabi only. UAE put together is almost about $1.7 trillion, out of which Abu Dhabi alone is about $1.4 trillion. So they naturally want to invest. Now, Europe and America really have plateaued. With a country which is growing at below 1%. All the countries of Europe are growing below 1%. And with a smaller size of the economy, with a larger size of the economy of 3.5, which is likely to be 5 in the next 3-4 years, they want to invest, they want to find the destinations. And they can't be any place better than India. You see, look at everything is going in favor of India, where the interest rate in Europe was only 1 or 2%, and in India it was 8%, 9%, 10%. Now, Europe has gone to 5% almost about, today 0.25 again, and India is not too far away. Same way, the inflation, which used to be 11, 12%, has come down to 7%, and the US is still reeling at 8% or 7.5%, 8%. So the things are going very much in favor of India. They see huge, tremendous opportunity of growth in India. China has plateaued, sort of getting older even as the average age. So I see that these funds who want to see some opportunity of growth, they can't find better place and the size other than India. So I'm sure there'll be very huge opportunity.
You see, Anurag, another thing that goes along, one of the reasons people used to complain about doing business in India was ease of doing business. And I think government recognized, so consistently government has been working towards improving that ease of doing business. And this year, this budget particularly, 39,000 forms have been done away with. 3,000 provisions of law have been done away with. What's the message government is trying to convey? Come and do business here is not as bad. Yes, there are a few things still we need, and there's a long way to go. One is land reform policy. And second is labor reform policy. We have been fighting for it for years and years. They both are state matters. And unfortunately, state and center is not aligned on that. Today, if you want to buy a piece of land and do business, you have to get it conversion, and it's a challenge by itself. So land reform is a must. But coming to the other question, yes, if you ask me today, I operate both the countries. I have business there as well as here. And let me tell you, India is a place of opportunities. Yes, there are some obstacles. Maybe that's what creates opportunities. That hurdles create opportunities because it's not anybody can walk in. So it's tough, but then tough wins. And then you have a path which is only one way.
Because I think most of people, we all believe that, India is obviously a growth story. We have a growth trajectory out there, ample opportunities, a lot of people, population is there, businesses are there. But one thing always remains when we compare the countries out there, Parasji, I mean, I want to come to you on this. When we compare the countries essentially with China to India, and people say, look, India is prosper further and China is going back. But I think still, at this point in time, the world's largest manufacturing is still in China, though we are talking about it. How much the share that India has gathered out of that, just because the COVID is still continued in the country and we had ample opportunities. The chips are still shortage. The automobile manufacturing is not able to happen because China is still closed. It's a demand-supply issue is still continuing. So, I mean, since you look into the business at that level and you have people, you're talking to different suppliers, different places out there, you are sitting in that layer at top. How do you see that just because we are talking that India is prospering further, is we really far away from there? Is we really far, I mean, 5 years or 10 years down the line to compete at that level?
See, for any business of the bigger size, particularly in the manufacturing, which India has not been giving, honestly, any great attention until 2 years ago. For any country to become an economic power, major economic power, you cannot depend only on services.
Yes.
Services are 54% of India's total GDP. The manufacturing is most important, and which creates employment, which generates employment. So there is no alternative for India to focus on manufacturing. Now, for manufacturing, you require very extensive infrastructure. India is a vast country. We don't have coastline all over. So you need very strong, very fast infrastructure, which we did not have. We are now beginning to have for the past 2 years, 3 years, thanks to Mr. Gadkari, who has been amazing in his performance. The other thing which is required for infrastructure is the huge capex. And this is the first time that you have a capex of 10 lakh crores, which means $125 billion. I have been advocating one very strong thing for the past 15 years, in fact, that the only source of a major capex is not with Tatas and Birlas and Adanis, or Adanis is only new, although in a different tone now. But it's only one community, which is NRI community. There are 30 million people of NRI and PIOs in the world. And let's say if per capita is not millions, not 100,000, only 10,000 per capita per year. I don't know whether you can quickly calculate. I'll tell you. The amount is $300 billion. $300 billion, which NRIs can produce. Forget about $300 billion. Okay, $1,000 only, which our maids and which our drivers, which our helpers can also get $1,000 a year. $30 billion. Today we are talking $125 billion, and we are singing songs for the first time. 4 years ago, in 16, it was only 4 times less. This is 4 times more now. So, for a huge capex, they must turn to NRI, who have huge per capita possibility. And so, for manufacturing, we require very strong infrastructure, which is now beginning to be made. Yes, there's a huge possibility of the shifting of the source from China to India, which is really on the move. And I feel, as I said it can go from 5% to 10% to 15% of what China is today. Absolutely possible, and it will be possible in not too distant future. In my opinion, it can be possible in the next 8 to 10 years.
Thank you, thank you.
Just before we should we open the okay.
There is in a tax provision we have that only 10 crores will be reinvestment in residential. It will be exempted, the rest will be taxed. Will it not generate more black money?
Actually, I don't think it will generate more black money because, frankly, now all these transactions are fairly monitored well, at least in the major metros that I have seen. In tier 2, tier 3 cities, yes, despite this, whether they had this provision or did not have this provision, there is still a parallel economy running and thriving. But to my mind, again, this is a provision which actually hits rather than plugs any loophole. Why are they saying this? They are saying this was meant to encourage small housing, etc. I have yet to see a small person actually make a capital gain and invest into housing. It is actually the salaried earner who has earned all these years, has paid his taxes honestly at deduction at source, who now gets something, and suppose he has invested in the market and now he is going to sell, and he, in a city of Mumbai, what does 10 crore fetch you? Nothing, quite frankly. But again, as I said, this is another irritant. So now, your people will do not black money, but they'll say, okay, half the house is owned by my wife, half the house is owned by me. So, okay, 9 crore, I buy 18 crore house. All this is again unnecessarily increasing the burden, which I think should not have been done. The intention which is spelled out, that this was never intended to be. I have frankly gone through those provisions. It is never said that it is only to promote small houses. Today you make up that story because your 10 crore limit you want to put that it was never intended. Hello, you were not even in the government when this provision came in the books. But this is unnecessary justification of something you want to do to tweak the law. That is what I think should have been avoided.
All right, let's open the floor for the audience. Let them ask questions. I mean, please.
Count to overseas. That is one question. And having regard, so Dubai is a major, property destination. Will it affect that the remittance will be reduced, or there will be a parallel economy which is already running? It will affect.
No. This is applicable to residents. It doesn't hit non-residents who are holding NRO accounts. So this is under the liberalized remittance scheme, which is applicable to residents only. It doesn't affect the. And I wish you had not asked this question. I hope somebody doesn't give this idea now to the bureaucrats.
Sir, my name is Rajesh. We've been talking about this government for 4 years they will not do, but this year they will give some goodies. You feel that politically any decision taken in budget which affects the election or something? I didn't find it anything, so I thought expert can tell us that this is being a...
Who are you addressing this question to?
Anyone, tax expert. A budget expert.
I saw only one announcement because the polls in Karnataka are to take place shortly. They have announced the Upper River Bhadra project, 5,400 crores has been released for Karnataka, specifically. And that was the specific provision that I found. I think, quite frankly, they have not tampered with the capital gains tax regime. They have not brought in inheritance tax. Whatever I think they are saving for the end as an interim budget to give out more goodies, but honestly, there is nothing specific here in this full budget which is aimed only to the election.
I completely agree. In fact, if you look at the total rural spending, it is actually reduced for FY24 compared to FY23. So during pandemic time, there a lot of support was given to the rural economy. This time, actually, FY24, they are expecting very low growth or muted growth, despite election, which everybody had a fear, but no populist measures. It is a good thing.
I have one question. It's not related to current year budget. It was mentioned that cryptocurrencies will be taxed at 30%. So I just wanted to know, how will the government get to know there is a transaction happening in cryptocurrency, or what is the basis of that tax rate? It's a one-liner, but it creates a lot of ambiguity. So if you can just throw some light on it.
No, it's very simple, frankly. They have now left it to you as a taxpayer to be compliant. If you are doing anything in crypto, you have to pay tax at 30%. They don't have to monitor anything. They don't even perhaps have the capacity to monitor. But in 16 years since crypto you have used outside and it's a foreign asset which has not been declared in your return, in 16 years thereafter they can open it. Okay, so that hanging sword is always on you. They need no, there is no accountability there. What happened last year? The big bang, they announced crypto that we are going to come out with a comprehensive policy. No, they have not come out because it's not possible to regulate crypto we are just gaining that experience of crypto. So besides saying it is bad and we are banning it and we are going to tax it, nothing has happened really. But everything in the Income Tax Act, frankly, the burden is on the taxpayer.
Thank you. Thank you. You have been so kind for your time. Dinesh ji, Paras ji, Hitesh ji, Rajesh ji, thank you all for sparing time for our honorable members. And it was lovely hearing from you guys. We got a different perspective, to be very honest. And especially Hitesh gave a very wonderful spin to the whole budget. I think if I was going to suggest to the FM that you should have an ethical taxathon. But now I know who the champion is going to be.
Thank you very much, all the panelists here, Dinesh Kothari ji, Mr. Paras Sadatpuri sahab, Rajesh Kothari, Hitesh Gajaria ji, and Shreyan Shah to moderate the session. Thank you very much. Now it's time to felicitate our two panelists, Mr. Sadatpuri Sahab and CA Dinesh Kothari ji.
एक छोटा सा फेलिसिटेशन बचा हुआ है. Will request for the felicitation, please. First, Paras sir, give a round of applause. Thank you, sir, for sitting on the panel discussion and enlightening us with your views on the budget. Dinesh ji, we'll request you to come forward for the felicitation, please. A round of applause for Dinesh ji. He has always been instrumental in supporting the chapter and is always available with his views, with everything. Thank you, everyone.
Now it's time for a formal vote of thanks. Malvika, please continue your vote of thanks. You are live.
On behalf of the Managing Committee of ICAI Dubai Chapter, I extend a hearty vote of thanks to our esteemed speakers, Mr. Rajesh Kothari and Mr. Hitesh Gajaria, for giving us an interesting insight into the budget implications on investment sector and NRIs respectively. I also thank the learned panelists consisting of CA Dinesh Kothari, Mr. Paras, Mr. Rajesh Kothari, and Mr. Hitesh Gajaria for their time to share valuable insights with us chartered accountants. I would also like to extend this vote of thanks to our sponsors, whose contributions are always vital for us to continue our work of spreading knowledge and creating goodwill. Our principal sponsors, Pan Emirates Home Furnishing, AGMC, Tally, IFCO, and Lulu. Event partner HSBC, magazine partner Finance World, platinum sponsor WMS CloudSouk, Emirates Chartered Accountants Group, UHY James, Vested, Nalsoft, and Jedox, FMCG partner Aktia, media partner Khalij Times, banking partner Bank of Baroda, and institutional partner Delhi Private School. A big thank you to all our participants attending in person and online for your encouragement and support in today's event. Wishing to see you all again. Thank you.